morning.
Before Teresa starts, I would like to thank finance and all departments. We start this process in July. We're in January, so by the time we get done and council approves the budget, we have a couple months off and we start over again. So it's a long process to get here, so thank you for all the process and preparation.
Thank you. Thank you. Teresa Fitch, Finance Director. Today I'll go over just probably 5 to 10 minutes of an overview of the CIP budget, which is presented to you today in a presentation, and then we'll start to move forward with each one of the projects that fall either in the 27 or the 28 fiscal year. Sarah will, I'm just going to just because we have some new council members, Sarah will announce the director. The director will come up. She'll read each project number and title. If you have questions, that's your time to ask questions. If not, we'll move on to the next project. If you have another project you want to discuss that's not in one of the first 2 years, feel free during the time that that director is up to ask to discuss that project. Because once the director leaves, they won't be back today. So I just want to make sure you know to catch them at that time. Okay. Can you turn the presentation on? Do you know? The first item I'll discuss is the timeline, the budget timeline. As you can see in that first column, this is something that Mike alluded to just now. This is the work that is done, put into place before we even get to this point. We ask the council for their priorities, we get a listing of them, and then that's how we move forward with both the CIP and the operating budget based on the council's priorities. The departments spend a month entering each one of the budgets. We have the CIP peer review, the finance review. We do a manager review with the department and the city manager. We review all the improvement requests that have been requested, and then we balance the CIP and the operating budgets, and that brings us to today. The first hearing is always the CIP budget. That's today. We'll discuss the 5-year capital plan and the debt service plan. On February 28th, we will discuss the operating budget and provide a property tax overview. And then in March and April, you'll see the levy reports come out and a deadline, and then the budget wrap-up will be March 18th, and then the budget will be presented to you for approval on April 13th. So we feel like a bulk of the work is done, and we're proud of the CIP budget and the operating budget that we'll present to you this year. So the council priorities this year, the same as they've been in the last several years. Infrastructure is always the top of the list and has been for several years. Quality of life is the second item on the list. Economic development, followed by health and safety, and then customer service. So you'll see a lot of the CIP budget is centered around infrastructure. So overall, the CIP budget initially at entry, it was $132 million. We have cut through the peer review process around $36 million, and we're down to a proposed budget here of $96,612 and $96,612,965. The general liability, this is what we're going to discuss today, primarily to the property tax levy that we discussed last week. It's the general bond portion of the levy. So today that's mostly what we'll focus on. When we go through this, we look specifically at the GO bonds and determine where we need to be for our debt service and our debt levels. So when we came in, we had $62 million worth of GO bond requests. They cut nearly $37 million to get us down to the $25,500,000. That's where we felt comfortable with the debt levels, and you'll see where we fall based on the allowable amount of debt.
So, Teresa, quick question.
Yep.
Can you go back to that screen?
Sure.
When you eliminate, or maybe not eliminate, that's the wrong word, when you adjust on the review process, whether it's the CIP, the manager, the department reviews, are those projects either put into future years, into unprogrammed years, or eliminated?
They're typically moved out for balancing. So we typically move them out and for balancing purposes because we need to get to a certain dollar amount for our GO. And at that time, that's where we take your priorities and we determine, okay, here's the priorities the council gave us, and then we shift things out, or things occur, a lot of times we move around transfer ins and transfer outs based on what the funds look like. But for the most part, everybody puts their wishes in that first year, and then we prioritize based on what the council as direction they've given us. Now, of course, the council always has the option to bring things forward, change things, flop things around, but that's why we ask for the priorities so that we can present what we think the council is looking for. Otherwise, we're just kind of guessing. So.
Thank you.
So the proposed CIP, you'll see, again, majority of this is infrastructure. 36% of the total budget is airport, which is a large runway project out at the airport infrastructure. The water, 15% at water, which is typically infrastructure. Streets, 14%, and then economic development is 10%. Those are our largest areas in the CIP this year. And specifically, the infrastructure investments, there's about $35 million at the wastewater treatment plant this year. $19 million of the annual improvements. Those are things that we see every year. Another $12 million in annual infrastructure, other infrastructure such as roadways, and then a little over $3 million in bridge infrastructure. So that's as you can see, that's a bulk of the CIP you'll see today. Economic and community development is about $9 million, and then the capital investments for public safety were about $1.5 million. We talked a little bit about this on Monday, but these are the CIP funding sources. As you can see, a large majority of our funding is not GO bonds. So a lot of that comes from water, sewer, grants. Some of it is, when we say revenue abated bonds, those are water or sewer abated bonds. They are not our GO bonds, so a little bit different. Those are paid for out of our enterprise funds. So this is our debt service screen here. Just understanding the restrictions of the debt service levy. Right now, Iowa code allows us to have 5% of the assessed value in debt. So our debt level would be $413 million. As of right now, we're at $152 million. We're at 36.8% of this limit, which is really good. We're proud of where we're at with our debt level. It does help us in our bond ratings every single year. So that's that's important to note. Additionally, we've been working really hard to keep that low, knowing that in a couple of years, you'll see in the book, we have some very substantial projects that are coming for infrastructure that will require additional bonding. So we've been planning for that, knowing that that's coming forward. So this screen here will tie in to what we've discussed again on last Monday with the presentation, but also with operating. This is the portion of the levy that the CIP impacts. This portion right now, the levy for debt service is 2.83, which is a reduction from the 26 budget of 3.34, which is 15.25%. So that's a great start. Right now, I also wanted to let you know that what the impacts are if you do a reduction or an addition to the CIP budget. So if you reduce the CIP budget by $103,000 in GO bond funding, the residents and $100,000, each $100,000 assessment will see a reduction of $1. And in a commercial residence, we've changed that to $300,000 because that's what the state has told us the average is. So now you'll see commercial will be noted as $300,000, and it will be $4 per $300,000. If you decide to add today anything to the GO bond funding, a resident will see an additional $1 for every $100,000 or $125,000 that you add, and a commercial property will see a $6 addition to their property taxes. So the reduction is $103,000, and the addition is $125,000. That does change a little bit as we change the debt service. It fluctuates a little bit. So that's all I have for you this morning. Do you have any additional questions as it relates to the CIP budget, or no? Okay.
Teresa, I do have to say,
Yeah.
you and your team and Mike, you make reviewing the budget so manageable, and primarily because of all the cross-references that you have between looking at the detail of each project and then the summaries of each project and how they cross-reference each other. I just wanted to make that comment that you really do make the process, I don't want to say simple because we're dealing with difficult concepts, but you really do a nice job of bringing it to an appropriate level.
Thank you. I think the departments and finance staff have tried to do a really good job of trying to bring it full circle so you can see where everything comes. It's been a work in progress, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Greg, it's been a lot, is that a lot different from what you?
It is, I don't want to say it's significantly different from 20 years ago. Bob would know probably the transitions better than I do, but I don't remember what I really appreciated in the review this time was the cross-references to see where the projects were, the funding sources, and especially amongst the departments and the cross-references to funding sources. And I don't recall it being the cross-references being as efficient before.
We did add about 3 or 4 years ago the cash balance, and on the bottom, now we have all of the encumbrances and the anticipated expenses, which is really helpful because we used to have a cash balance, and then council said, hey, you have a huge cash balance, but they didn't know that there was already an encumbrance in place. So we already had a contract that was going to eat that cash balance. So we spent a lot of time talking about that and providing that to council on the floor. So we decided to just add that to the book so they were aware. It does also bring to light to the departments and to us, hey, you have these encumbrances, but this is what you have left in cash. What do you have left? And so it does force our hand to use more project balance. I think we've been better about using project balances and moving the cash around because it's right there in the forefront. It's all right there in front of you. So I think that was a really good change. So that is something that you will not see in the approved book. It's only in the proposed book because obviously, that will change and changes throughout the approved book, but that's something that we've changed to bring forward to the proposed book, so it's easier and more transparent for council.
That was a great addition.
Yeah,
And obviously,
I agree.
we've already taxed for it. So by moving it around, using it, best way to go.
And I will note that you'll find that we do have some technical changes that will come back because by the time, once this goes to print, it's almost no good anymore because things change, they get different, they get updated bids. I just had one yesterday that we'll talk about today that was good. It will be a reduction, but there will be changes that will occur to this only because as we continue with normal business, we'll start to see some bids come in and changes to that, so. All right, thank you.
Up first, we have the Art Center, Project 339003, Art Center Capital Projects, page 68.
So Todd is not present today. He wasn't able to be here. If you have questions on this project, we can bring it back to operating. Does anybody have any questions they want?
Library, Project 319007, Morningside Library Improvements, page 173. Helen Rigdon.
Good morning, Council. Helen Rigdon, Library Director. Do you have any questions on ours? We don't have anything current in this current year, but we are looking forward. Probably our main focus would need to be on the air handler and the chiller at morning or downtown here. It's been original since 1990, so we've been babying it along, and we're keeping our fingers crossed it'll last another year. So,
And that was Project 319013, Wilbur Alf's Library Improvements, page 174.
Is that a complete redo, or is it just an asphalt overlay?
what on the Morningside lot? Gordon did that, so I don't know. I would assume it's a complete redo
It's a complete redo.
because it needs new curbs and everything in the islands. So
Yeah, I understand that, but it's not like it's a high-traffic area that a 2-inch
I agree.
overlay wouldn't solve a lot of problems at probably half the price. I
Yeah.
would like you to at least look at that before
Okay.
next year.
I was just going to say that too, and also I wanted to add, you know how it gets torn up with the
Carnival.
festival, the
The
carnival?
circus, yeah.
Yes, so I'm not sure that
Yeah, I know. They keep assuring us that it won't in the future.
it does.
My opinion is we could reduce the size of the pavement part and turned it into green space out there, because we don't need that much parking in that lot. It sits empty most of the time.
Helen,
Not empty, but.
I'm glad you responded that way, because the question that I have, both with regard to the projects in 28 and 29, I would like to see how the library board is looking at its short-term and long-term plan for those facilities and others in the community before we start aggressively committing, to Bob and Julie's point about those kinds of modifications. It'd be nice to know what I know your tenure, but
Yeah.
what your board envisions,
Okay.
excuse me, over the next 5 to 10 years. So I think we have a better understanding or a better sense of how we process fairly significant commitment.
Yeah, they will have a new strategic plan coming up at the end of this year.
Okay.
So,
Good.
I will say too, when we did meet with the board especially on the downtown facility, they were okay with pushing those out from 27 to 28,
Yeah.
just for that.
yeah.
Great. Thank you.
And we'll bring that project back to wrap up for additional discussion.
The parking lot one? Okay,
The overlay, yep.
okay, thanks.
Teresa, can I ask you a quick question before we go to the next one? On each one of these, there's a scoring matrix. What is the weight of those, and, just being the new kid on the block?
Available, I can provide it for you, but when we go through peer review, we provide just a scoring based on, I don't know, I don't memorize all of them, but based on just these different categories, and then we score them. I'm not sure that we use them quite to the level we could.
Okay.
But we've kind of moved towards using council priorities
Gotcha.
away from this, but I'll provide that for you.
Thank you.
Museum, Project 349003, Museum Tech Equipment Replacement, page 180, Steve Hansen.
Morning, Mayor, City Council. Steve Hansen, 607 4th Street. That's where I live a lot of the time, so. First of all, thank you for your service. So next 60 days will be pretty important for decision-making time, so. We have 2 requests, one for the downtown museum and then also one for the Welcome Center, so open up for any questions.
Tell your board, thanks for raising 50,000. Is that what I'm reading?
Yep.
Twice?
Pardon?
The donations.
It looks like you
portion-
got
the private
donations
portion of
for
the
like
revenue.
100,000 the last 2 years.
We've actually, between the board and other outside resources, have put in about $300,000 into the downtown museum between the sports exhibit and Phase 1 and now Phase 2, so.
Questions? Okay. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
IT, Project 859006, WIC Info Service Upgrade, page 434, John Malloy.
Let us apologize for having you get up so early and go to work. I know it's not customary for you to be up this early, so thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Mayor Pro Tem, Council, thank you for that introduction.
Good morning, John.
Good morning. Not sure where to go with that. The highlight of our FY27 budget is the hyperconverged infrastructure, HCI, server storage and switch infrastructure that we replace about every 5 years. That's one of our big ticket items. And again, that's the brunt of our budget. I did share with the WIC Commission this past Wednesday, we did get word with all the AI data center builds going out throughout the world and the nation. They're anticipating 30 to 40% increases in our electronics. So from the time I submitted this budget 6 months ago until now, there's going to be a delta there. I just want this budget, I want this council to be aware of that. So, and that could be problematic when we go out to bid here in 6 months.
So you're anticipating possibly another 250,000?
I was going to say 200,000. We probably built 5% into this budget right now, but yes, that would be a high water mark, and I would say 200,000, 100,000 each side. we can go as is, but I just want you guys to be aware of that. Memory has went up almost 60% since the fourth quarter. There's a lot of stress on the industry. Again, supply demand. So again, I want this council to be aware of that. So when we go out to bid and I present the results, we're most likely not going to have enough funds. So I know the mayor understands all this.
Oh, yeah. I'm all for you, you know that.
And do you know when you're taking that out to bid?
I anticipate July we'll go.
Okay.
I'd like to go sooner and later because we need to prepare. We're going to change what we call our virtualization infrastructure at that time. Again, I shared with the WIC Commission this past Wednesday. The software that we run for that has went up 200% each of the last 2 years, over 200%. So it was at 15,000 a year. Now we're at 93,000 in 2 years. So we're going to switch that platform as well.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, does it help your pricing if you can do it in April versus July?
That's what I was going to ask as well.
Because we can bring, after the council approves it, they can bring funds forward.
Yeah, I mean, because you could likely send it out to bid, get some bids, and they would hold those prices for at least a certain period of time, right?
Correct.
Maybe that allows you to
Correct.
eliminate that delta of 20 to 30%.
They said first quarter, so they said February 1st is what I was understanding. So we can try that. My other concern is our current infrastructure is, I think it expires in January, February next year. So then we lose that 6 months of useful life of that. So again, those are both options. We can do that. And we've done that before. That's a great idea. So
You want to bring this back to wrap up for discussion? Okay, we'll bring it back to wrap up for discussion.
okay,
See if we
Means
can
you
fit
get
it.
to come back.
I look forward to it.
Anything else? Okay.
Events Facilities, Project 379010, Tyson Event Center Remodel and Repair, page 134.
Morning, guys.
Morning, Council. Morning, Mr. Mayor. I'm Chad Smith, General Manager of the Tyson Event Center, Orpheum Theater, and Sioux City Convention Center. Big projects we have this year is a long overdue chiller overhaul for our smaller chiller at the Tyson. It is the one that has ran a majority of the year due to working in cooperation with our ice plant to keep the ice sheet functional. We can't run our big one because they share a cooling tower with the ice plant, so we have to run the smaller one. Otherwise, we would starve the ice plant, and it would burn up the ice plant.
Explain that to me, because AC&R not too long ago did a big chiller job there.
The big chiller, yes. This is the actual cooling chillers inside of the ice plant area on the west end. We have a small 2-ton, and then we have a large 5-ton. The larger one, when it's in operation, we usually run that when the ice sheet is out because, as I mentioned, they share the same system. And because it is so much larger than the smaller ice chiller, it actually will overpower the ice plant, and it will actually shut it off.
It's not the one AC&R did a couple years
No.
ago? Okay.
Nope. This one particular has not been rebuilt yet. The service life for these units is about 40 years, but with a 10-year, every 10 years, they're supposed to be rebuilt. This one has never been rebuilt since the building was opened. So we're looking at 23 years without a rebuild. So that's why this is a big priority. When we did our eddy current testing, we were fortunate there wasn't any clogged pipes. We did have to plug 2, but no significant issues that would affect it in the long term as long as we do a rebuild soon. The lighting control system, that is the computer that controls all of our hallway concourse lights in the Tyson, but it also connects to the Long Lines Recreation Center. That computer, unfortunately, is an old Windows XP computer, which I'm sure most of you know has not been serviced by Microsoft since 2013. My fear is at some point that computer goes down and we have no way to control the lighting system in the venues. Because everything is done with computers and relays now. So we treat that computer very gingerly, make sure we keep it clean, and make sure that we're taking good care of it. And then finally, basketball court. Our court serves its purpose. It is getting old. It's reaching its end of life. Over the last 2 years, we've really noticed that it started developing dead spots. So when you're dribbling the basketball, it doesn't have the same rebound off the court surface. It's something we noticed primarily during the NAIA basketball tournament, but coaches have noticed and the tournament committee have noticed. So that is the main reason that the basketball court is on there, as we want to be able to provide a playing surface that meets the NAIA standards and would allow us to hopefully at some point recruit a NCAA game to the building as well.
What causes that?
Over time, the building doesn't have a humidification system to kind of regulate humidity. So over time, the boards just kind of get softened, being moved and set up and put away over and over a span of 10 to 15 years does that as well. Additionally, it just wood degrades over time. We've done our best to keep it repaired. We've had to continually buy clips. The company that built our current court is Robbins Courts. They make great courts, but the industry has kind of moved away from their style of court to a different style that's much easier to assemble, much easier to maintain, and it uses some composite materials as well as wood. So it actually increases the durability and the duration of life on the product.
And how long does it take to get one?
If we were to get the court approved, I wouldn't have it before this NAIA tournament, but we would have it by next fall. So we would have it for Baumgars next year, Globetrotters next year, and the NAIA tournament next year.
So what are you going to do for the NAIA this year?
We're going to use our court. It's ready to go.
You're going to use what?
Our court.
Okay.
We've spent the last 2 months making repairs, trying to get rid of the dead spots. And any damages that have occurred over the last couple of years, including a rental that we had last summer when we rented it to the United States Badminton for a tournament they held in Council Bluffs. When it did come back, it did have some damage, and unfortunately, we had to do some repair work to it at that time as well.
They pay you yet?
They have not paid me yet. We just finalized the bill for the damages, so we'll be sending that bill for the final damages, which were just under $2,000.
I got a question. It's $684 for a roof, but yet we have all this other stuff we're doing, so explain that to me. Last year, we were just supposed to do a roof. That's what it was. But now we're doing all this other stuff.
Some of that still could be carryover from previous year.
What did the roof come in at? It wasn't $684. It came in pretty cheap. This is what I want to make sure, because then we go spend the money on something else.
Jessica Johnson, the city manager's office. I can bring back the official number for the Tyson roof. We did just have the roof budgeted in FY26, and that amount was, we also budgeted in case we had to do insulation repair, like any insulation, and I don't believe we did, so it did come in a little bit less than that. And as you see, we are expecting.
$200,000,
No, it was more than that. It was more than that. I can bring back the official number. I don't have it.
Well, I want to make sure, because I don't want that money going and getting spent somewhere else. That money ought to roll forward.
Yeah, and then some of these other things are holdover items from FY25 that weren't completed yet.
Whatever that roof came in at, my point is, less, should not be just up to you guys to decide how to spend it. If it's budgeted for something, then that money should come back to this council.
Yep.
Not go get a wish list of other stuff, or it should roll forward, so we ask for less taxes in this year.
Yes, I don't disagree. Any project that we are using that money for has come to council, will come to council. Like we have the South Plaza repairs, the voids that we have in the smokers area. That was an unanticipated expense, and that's coming to council in 2 weeks, I believe. So that's one of the unanticipated expenses.
Anyway, it should, once a project in one of these budgets here, I mean, if it's a street project, it rolls to another street project, I get that. But if it's a project like this, it should have to come back when you're changing your priorities, is all I'm saying.
So when the work plan changes, if there's additional
Yeah.
items, okay.
Because
provide
otherwise,
memos
things
on
get
that?
added that we don't know about, that's all
Okay.
I'm saying.
Okay, we'll give direction to provide a memo if there's, if they come in below, so that you're aware of the additional.
I did get
cuts.
notified that that roof came in
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
we
then
did. I
that
remember
money
it.
doesn't come back to the
Correct.
city.
Yes, I
That's my-
understand that. I just know that we were notified.
Oh, yeah,
So that
I
part
get
won't
all
be
the
due.
bids every week. They
Yep.
send them to me.
Right.
I ask for it, and they'll send it to you
So
too, but.
you already have that process in place, that we are notified if it's either over or under
Yeah.
significantly.
Yep, but we'll just ask for direction on that, on the underage, so that you're aware of what the work plans, or we can reprogram it into something else.
I was going to say, yeah, as of right now, I believe our practice has just been we leave it in this project, and then if something comes up, then the project comes to you guys, and then we explain like where the financial impact is, where the money's coming from, and then if not, it stays in here as the expected year-end balance. So we are expecting to have a year-end balance, so if we need to reduce our ask, that we're
Well, you
for
did,
next year, we can.
you're using $150,000 in project balance this year to
Yep.
fund it, yep.
Yep,
And all that.
yep, I understand what you're
It's
saying.
how you
Yep.
got there, that's all.
Yep.
All right.
Can we go back to the basketball court?
Sure.
Is this the basketball, my recollection is that this is not the original court to the facility.
It is not.
And that we had an opportunity, I believe, from the NCAA Final Four, they sell their courts when they're done using them. So is there a market for facilities like that?
There is.
Or for product like that?
What I've noticed is it all depends on how the court is resurfaced when they're resurfaced. This court has already had 3 resurfacings. Unfortunately, the last time it was resurfaced prior to me being in the venue, it was sanded a little too much. So it's actually thinner in some spots where the joints come together, to the point where if we would want to resurface or refinish it, should we be able to get it perfectly repaired ever, we couldn't resurface it or refinish it again.
But I mean, when you replace this court, is there a market for used courts
Yes.
as well?
Yeah, there is a market for used courts. A lot of times it will depend on the lifespan left. So it depends on if it's resurfaced or not. The companies that I've talked to kind of get an idea of what to put in here for a balance for the project, all work with the NBA and the NCAA, and actually their courts are used for that, and that is one of the options that they can do, is to refinish that NCAA finals court or that NBA finals court and repurpose it for another venue. It would be one of 4 possible refinishes. Typically, a court can do 4 refinishes before it's run its lifetime.
So we'll bring a memo back that just indicates what the roof bid came and then what the additional funding was utilized for wrap-up.
I just had a question about your unprogrammed lines there. Why is that, not specific or?
Some of that is because we don't really fully know what our vision for the venue is long-term right now, as far as remodeling and updating and stuff. There's major renovations. As I mentioned, the facility's 23 years old. It's never really had a true facelift. Yes, the seating bowl has been replaced once, but as far as just updating the amenities, buildings 23 years ago were designed completely different than they are now. Premium seating was not a priority. Guest experience wasn't as big of a priority as it is now. So that's why some of that is over there, is because it's such a large spend to do the renovations and the things like that, that you don't really know how to properly plan it or to phase it. Some of these were in here beforehand. The one I actually added was the dressing rooms, because that's one of the problems that we have, is dressing room space or entertainers areas when they come into the venue. We're square rooms with a bathroom, and a lot of venues have started to create artist areas specifically for when those tours come in, to make it feel more at home, because they live on the road, they live in a bus. So they've created artist experience areas or artist areas specifically. So that's why that one was put in there. And that is a very rough estimate. Some of these other ones have been in there for a few years, like the freight elevator, for example. The building never was built with a freight elevator. So if we can't get it into our passenger elevators, we have to push it or forklift it up the old ramps inside of long lines. So there's just things that we need in a facility that would make it more efficient and make us better operators. but the financial spend on them is so much, it's really hard to come to a council meeting and say, hey, can I have $1.5 million to do X? I know how difficult it was for us to get the roof done, and that was one of those items we really needed desperately for multiple years. So.
And just in that same thing, renovating long lines, like what?
That one, I'll be honest, that's been in there since as long as I can remember. I don't know if that was meant specifically for long lines or if that's meant for the two buildings combined.
Okay, project 379013, annual Tyson Event Center maintenance improvements.
All right. Again, we're just looking at items we can use to keep us more operationally efficient and keep our equipment in good shape. Obviously, tables over time just degrade and break down, so we try to constantly replace tables on an annual basis. We've converted most of our tables from wood over to the polycarbonate ones because they're lighter, easier to move around. Additional fobs, there are a few non-fobbed entrances in the building that we would like to get fobbed so we can control access better. Oh, I was reading it off of the sheet. I'm sorry, I looked at the wrong year. Hockey glass and the dashers, as well as the basketball hoop and the lactation pod. The hockey glass, if you've come to a hockey game in the last couple of years, you've noticed over time the poly or the plexiglass gets scuffed and loses its visibility. We've took a lot of time this fall really buffing out the glass with a specific compound for that type of glass. If you've been to any of the hockey games this fall, you'll notice the glass does look better, but over time, certain puck marks or even checks into the glass just don't buff out anymore. So what we would like to do is start slowly replacing the glass panels around the arena to make it a better guest experience for the fans so they can see the playing surface easier. Additionally, our dasher panels are starting to break down. This season specifically, we've had 5 pucks actually go through the dasher wall behind the goalies, and it's just because over time that poly material just softens and breaks down, and the kids are faster and stronger, and their puck speed is so much more than it used to be, and they've actually popped pucks through the dasher walls. So we've had to replace 5 dashers this year. So ideally, we'd like to kind of start replacing those dasher panels slowly because there are so many of them.
Can I just ask, with the hockey glass replacement, is that just a two-phase?
Yes.
So it's half one year, half the
Yes.
next? Okay, and same thing for the dasher panels?
Yes.
That's it?
Yeah, for the dasher panels specifically, the ones that are on the sides or on the east to west sides don't take as much of abuse. They're not on the curve. The curve is where the stress comes, and that's where the panels that are getting damaged are at, is on the curved ends, because they do have flex, and those panels, when they come to us, even the ones that go on the curves, are straight, so they actually get flexed as they get put in place. So there is some stress on those panels as well. So stress combined with age, combined with faster and harder hits is where that damage has happened. So this would allow us to have more panels. I think we're down to about 10 replacement panels right now. So it'd be nice to be able to replace the panels we have and save them in reserve if we would need them, but also slowly replace the panels.
Is that done in-house, or do you have a vendor?
Yeah, we do that ourselves.
Okay.
Alfred Taylor kind of takes care of all of our ice dashers and the ice and the Zamboni. So that would be Alfred and the operations team, as well as Mike Brukowski, our new director of operations. They would be the ones taking care of the ice and the glass. The basketball hoop, it goes right hand in hand with the court. The basketball hoops we have now work perfectly fine. The only downside to them is they're much closer to the floor space than the current newer models are, which creates a bigger buffer zone for the athletes as they come underneath the hoops. They're a lot less likely to run into the towers because they're back set farther off the court, the new ones are. Ours are about 3 feet off of the baseline, which anymore is a little bit tighter than what leagues in the NAIA would prefer. So this is really driven by feedback from the NAIA.
I was just going to ask
that they want us to upgrade not just the court, but they really want us to upgrade our playing standards for the athletes. They do have a national deal in place for the NAIA with a company that actually provided the new volleyball standards, Garrett Performance Sports. They're going to be providing us 2 basketball standards for the NAIA tournament this year as part of their sponsorship for the NAIA. So that'll give us a good view of what their product will be so that we can have a better idea, because their product is actually a little bit cheaper than Spalding's. Very similar in design, but it also has some features that the Spalding ones don't have, like power-assisted lift instead of springs. So it's a lot less labor intensive, saves time, saves money. So hopefully if those work well, that'll be one that we can put in this, because this bid is based off of the Spalding Renegade, which is what the NAIA or the NCAA and the NBA use and what most colleges use. So if the Garrett Sport ones do work, they would be significantly less, probably 20,000
They're
less.
bringing them in, why don't you ask them what they sell them to you used? Just
gonna ask that.
And you wouldn't
Actually, Andrew, the salesman, and I have been talking about that, because I told him that the basketball hoops are on the CIP for this fiscal year. So he's coming back to me with a price. He would love to bring them here and leave them here in March, but obviously won't know if we can do anything like that until after today.
And can we contact some other facilities that currently use these? That perhaps have used Spalding in the past and are using these now? You know, just to have a chat with their facilities folks to say, is it worth the
Do you like it?
save?
Do you not like it? Yeah.
Right, because we all know cheapest isn't always best.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can reach out to, we have enough sister facilities within OVG that we can reach out to them and actually talk to them and see, have you used the Garrett
Don't
product?
talk to the accountants.
Nope. No, talk to the operations guys, the guys that actually doing the setup work.
Right.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I can do that.
And to Bob's point, I'm guessing that a significant portion of the cost of the units is mobilization, transportation, mobilization, getting there. If they're getting them here for the event, to Bob's point, I can't imagine that it would probably be very cost efficient to look at that option.
Yeah, in looking at the product that they provide, it looks very similar to the Spalding Renegades. So if it's as good of a product or as easy to work with, absolutely, I would go with the cheaper product if it's comparable. Finally, the lactation pods. This is just a service to our patrons. We have a lot of new parents or expecting parents that come into the venue, and we right now don't have a spot, including one of our own staff members, for them to go and take care of their child if they have them at an event and feed their baby or to pump. So many venues, I'm sure if you've been to an airport or any college campuses to an event, you'll see these lactation pods hidden on their concourses, sponsored by some sort of business. We'd like to provide that same type of amenity to our customers and patrons here. It's just something we feel is lacking that's very simple and that could add a lot to a person's experience in the venue.
We need to get the mothers out of the bathrooms,
Yes.
right?
So that is all those.
Project 379051, Convention Center upgrades, page 138.
You have me one more time, I'm sorry.
Roll.
All right. So currently, we are working on getting bids for the AV project for the FY26, so that is still in progress. I just want to give you an update first. The carpet and paint for the meeting rooms 1 through 10, we've started that already, actually Monday, Martin Luther King Day, they will start paint on rooms 1 through 5. So that project is moving forward. Additionally, I'm going to be getting with Jessica here shortly to determine the amount of tables and linens we want. 8-foot versus rounds. And then we'll carry that over. And the plan is to get all of our tables and linens that we need ordered at one time with the money from this current year that we're in and the one that we're proposing. And then the final kind of big one there, outside of the food and beverage items, is the carpet for the main galleries A, B, and C. If you've been in the building in the last couple of years, you've noticed that over time, even replacing the carpet squares in that area is getting more difficult. We do still have some, but with some of the events we have with cars coming in, with weddings that have punches that are red, or other colored beverages, they tend to stain those carpets even with carpet cleaning and regular maintenance. Over time, it just gets harder and harder to clean that and replace those carpet squares. So we're looking at refreshing that, which will also hopefully enhance the aesthetics of the room and make it more appealing to people to come in.
Okay. Up next, we have fire.
Thanks, guys.
Project 159018, fire apparatus replacement, Chief Collins, page 152.
Morning, Chief.
Morning, Council. How are you? So 159018, page 152, I believe. So fiscal year 27, we're looking to replace 3 vehicles, 2 squads and a mechanic pickup. The squads are used for emergency services. Typically, we don't like to take the great big trucks on normal EMS runs just because of the wear and tear on those. So back in 2012, we went to a squad concept where their pickups outfitted with basically modules on the back of the boxes. The modules are not being replaced. This is just for the chassis. So 2 squads, and then the mechanics pickup was purchased back in 2008, I believe. It's been a lot of repairs been done on it. Justin's done a fantastic job of keeping the wheels on and keeping those wheels turning, but it's time for that to be replaced. So that is fiscal year 27. Last year we had 3 fire engines in there, but due to the length of time to receive those, with the work of finance, we moved those out several years until we're confident on when they're going to be arriving, and that we'll pay for it in that fiscal year.
Well, those items actually already came to council, and in the financial impact, it did indicate that based on our direction, we've requested that they ask for the funding in 28 and 29 based on the delivery date, because we didn't want to bond for them and then sit on money for 2 or 3 years. So those programmed in 28 and 29, as you see above in the encumbrance, those are already ordered items. We've just spread them out so that the funding doesn't all occur 1 year based on the delivery date. So 3 years out at least.
Yeah, 2.54.
Exactly?
Exactly,
But
hopefully.
you're losing me. You had a negative cash balance, so you add the trucks back in for 2.7. Is that right? Is that what I'm reading? Right up above there.
The
Yeah,
cash
'cause I-
balance includes the encumbrances.
Yeah,
So it's 1.4 is the negative.
right. And then it jumps to 421 positive.
Well, because right.
But the math, I'm just asking because the math, I know, if you take the 2.7 off,
Understand.
that's 1.3. And you only got 400, so there's 900,
It's 2 of them.
there's 950
It's
for the.
2 of the
I mean,
3.
is it because of the 950 for the truck that isn't here yet?
Yeah, for these 2 here. Yep, that are 28 and 29. Those encumbrances include that, yes.
That, I get that, but if you take 1.4 negative, 2.7 back in, that's 1.3, not,
And this one is included.
okay, that's what I'm asking.
So all 3 of those are together, yes.
Okay.
Project 159019, fire station improvements, page 154.
Fiscal year 27, this is, majority of this is going to be the remodel of the Station 1 restrooms. Station 1 was built, that's roughly 40 years old, and a lot of the fixtures in the bathrooms are no longer working. We want to be able to expand it to accommodate for more female facilities, just because we have more females in the department now than we ever have before.
But
So-
200,000?
I'm sorry?
But 200,000, that's a lot of bathroom.
It's the showers,
Yeah.
the bathrooms,
I
the
know.
sinks.
It's a lot of money.
How big is that room?
Not that big.
I couldn't even tell you the square footage of it. 4 stalls, 3 urinals, 4 sinks, and then a large shower area. I couldn't even tell you what square footage is.
Where'd
but
you
I can
get that
to you.
number from?
That was an estimate from Mark.
Wow.
Want us to ask for detail to see if you
Well,
have?
that's a lot of, I mean, you took $10,000 bathroom at your house and take it times 10, that's 100,000, so you're taking it times 20.
We can
It
ask,
is, I don't know, that's a lot of money.
we can ask for.
I'm sure a lot of it is the actual plumbing itself. It's just not the fixtures and the cosmetic stuff.
And the tear out?
It's a complete tear out.
Yeah, but you're not tearing out the floors and that.
If it's floor drains, yes, you would be.
Maybe it'd be helpful just to see some of the,
Sure.
if you can get us some of the detail.
Sure.
We'll bring something back for wrap-up in a memo if there's additional information. Okay.
Project 159031, public safety generators, page 162.
If you look at on the work plan on page 163, majority of our generators have been replaced here within the last 2 decades. The oldest one now is the police fire headquarters, and quite frankly, it's working now. And this is a project, as we move closer, it may be moved out, depending upon the need at the time. These generators typically run dedicated outlets. As far as headquarters, right now, it's dedicated circuits, but with everything being electronic now, I'm guessing the need is probably for something a little bit larger. It runs the radio communication centers, or the radio system, the antennas inside the building, so it is needed having some type of alternative power source when the power goes out is necessary.
And this is a 28 request, and you're anticipating it may even be able to be moved further?
Yeah.
So that's gotta be a project to try to get that inside your building. Because that's
Yeah,
inside.
Chief, that would have to be raised, and that's a rooftop unit, correct, the generator?
Oh, that's headquarters, I'm sorry, I'm
Yes.
thinking of
Yep.
Station 1, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Project 159032, major response equipment, page 164.
So fiscal year '27, we typically have, if you look at the work plan on page 165, every fiscal year, we try to dedicate funds to a certain program within the department to make sure that we maintain our equipment in a manner that's efficient, I guess, if you will. A lot of the equipment that we do have expiration dates on them, such as rope rescue or life safety ropes. Those are only good for so many years, and then we're forced to replace them, and that's a safety issue. For fiscal year '27, a bulk of this money is going to be dedicated to new hazmat monitors, getting rid of the Ray system and moving to a blackline system. The blackline system allows for cloud connectivity, in-field sensor swaps, that sort of thing. It's the same systems that are used by majority of the other regional hazmat teams in the state, including the 71st Civil Support Team, which is our partner. And so having a system that's comparable to other agencies would be a big benefit in a large-scale incident. So a lot of this money here would be going to that hazmat monitoring system.
Now, is this in collaboration with WIC?
It is not.
Oh, okay.
Do we get any reimbursement from anybody for this stuff?
For the, well, we do have, as part of the regional hazmat program, we do receive revenue funds from the 13 counties that are part of the LEPC, or the local area planning committee.
But it's not like search and rescue or whatever?
No.
Okay.
When I said collaboration, I just meant that it would be a product that they recommend.
As
For
far
those
as IT?
monitors?
As
Yeah.
far as IT?
Yeah.
No, these are,
these are out in the field. These
Yes,
are
yes.
small
Yep, I
hazmat
understand.
monitors
I understand.
that connect together.
But when you said it's going to go to the cloud, is it coming to the
It goes.
city storage?
It goes, no, it does not go to the city
Okay, that's what
storage.
I'm wondering,
Correct.
sorry. Okay.
And it's things that can be broadcast back to the emergency operations centers so that policymakers can get a good idea of what the situation is in real time and don't have to wait for field reports to come in via radio or cell phone or something like
Yep,
that. They
that's
can
great.
actually see
That's
everything.
great. And the direction I was going is that WIC is trying to really get out in front of products, software, anything, as you know, so that everybody knows what everybody's doing and they
Right.
understand what they have, coming to them,
Yep.
or perhaps products that don't work, or et cetera, what we have.
Okay, up next we have police. Project 195052, police capital equipment, page 226, Chief Mueller.
Good morning.
Morning.
Specifically, what we're addressing here, and you can see that in the information, is a Bearcat. About 12 years ago, we were able to, through a government procurement program, obtain an MRAP at no cost to ourselves, but that vehicle was not designed for what we use it for. A lot of departments will default to that. It's about 3 feet off the ground. It was designed to strike mines. It's a convoy vehicle. It was designed to protect the occupants from below up. So we have used it with some effectiveness, but the other piece is that it was not designed for what it does. It doesn't work very well in urban areas. And we have been kicking this can down the road. We've had a number of incidents in the last several years that have significantly challenged us. There was an incident in Hornick where we went to assist the county where this vehicle that we had was disabled because of the fact that it wasn't designed to do what we do. Also, we have really no ballistic protection for our officers. And when we respond to a barricaded subject, part of the purpose of a vehicle like this is to protect the other people in the neighborhood. We use it as a ballistic backstop for our operations. So we have gotten to the point where we think it's time. The county is seeking one and should have a delivery. We found in past incidents that if you don't have something that can function in this capacity, you're at a significant disadvantage. Unfortunately, bad guys are being better and better armed. We're facing bigger and bigger threats. And this is just simply a device that we believe we've come to the time where we have to ask for a purpose-built vehicle.
I do want to note that Chief Mueller has provided me an updated quote on this, so we will need to bring this back as a technical change. Now the armored vehicle, as of the 12th of January, is at $405,000, so this project will have an update.
And Rex, you want to talk about the fact that you considered a shared vehicle possibly with the county and how that might not work so well?
Yes. Unfortunately, it's great when you have it and you need it. But the problem with a shared asset is that if the other agency is utilizing it or you can't get access, then it is literally of no use to you. Not to mention the fact that getting it on scene, having it, we have used ours, the MRAP that we've utilized, we've gone to people's aids, but again, what we have is no longer appropriate for what we can do. Now we can't, another piece is that we spoke to finance, we cannot sell those. That's government procurement. We could provide that, the MRAP, the existing vehicle, to other agencies as needed or enter an agreement to give it to somebody, but it's not an asset that we can sell and offset. That's not the way that the government procurement plans work.
What about lease it? Can you rent it to somebody else?
I don't know that, we'd have to look at the agreements, but very often the federal government has tight restrictions, and I understand why. They don't want departments getting a government asset and then turning around and selling it for profit.
Sure, I get
So
it.
we'd have to look at the original agreements. I think we could loan it, gift it. I think it makes sense for us to actually maintain it as a backup because there are times when we need more than one piece of equipment like this. It's usable in many situations, but in an urban area like ours, Bearcat is far more suitable, more appropriate, the size difference is significant. The height, the width of the vehicle we have.
See what it looks like.
Yeah, what we have is, again, was never purpose-built. Now, unfortunately, like the fire chief, there's not a lot of companies who cater to our need. There is other companies that we've looked at, like Oshkosh, that are meeting military contracts. Lenco is one of the few that we can go to that can have a purpose-designed vehicle for law enforcement, and they understand the law enforcement market. They're dedicated to it. Even with that, delivery dates are not immediate, but this is, again, this is a need that I think is past due. And I think we've had enough things that happened in the last several years that have convinced us that it's about time to advance this ask in the interest of not just the protection of the officers. These are rescue vehicles. We have an incident. The primary use of these vehicles will be to evacuate individuals that might be in harm's way. It could be firefighters, could be citizens, could be police officers that are down. There's a number of uses for vehicles like this.
Chief, can you go back to the overlap with either co-use or co-ownership with the county? How often do you think that might be an issue? And in my mind, I'm thinking if it was ever an issue, it would probably be where the city and the county are working together on an incident. Is that naive?
No, you know what? Quite honestly, you know, where we are, we're not the Des Moines area. We are the big brother in the area. And if something happens in the county, it has become more and more common for them to ask for our assistance. It's being more and more common for surrounding communities to ask for our assistance, and we gladly go to their aid. That's one of the things that I think that Sioux City does very well as the large agency in the area, is that we are always available to assist agencies that need assistance, whether it's with equipment, whether it's support in any way, and I think that's a credit to the city of Sioux City. And so the asks are becoming more and more frequent. The incidents of a heightened nature are becoming more and more frequent. I mean, my entire career, I've never thought I'd see some of the things I've seen in the last several years that we've had to contend with. So it's just getting more dangerous, and I think we need to meet those needs with appropriate equipment. I think this is a piece that would be well used. I think it would provide a level of community safety that we don't necessarily have with the existing equipment. And
Chief,
again,
does that include the trailer and everything, the 405? Is it trailered?
Oh, no. So I'm not sure. The Bearcat is
independent, just drives on its own?
Yes.
So there's no trailer, nothing down the road you're going to ask for any type of trailering or anything?
I'm not sure. So I know at one point it was discussed, and I don't know if this was something that that we were looking at the possibility of a Rook, which is a much smaller vehicle,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have the capacity. That would need to be trailered. We're going to abandon that. That's a Bearcat, yes.
Yes.
Yep.
It's like a big armored Jeep type.
Basically built on a truck chassis, very different from the convoy vehicle that we're using.
So is that the same thing the county's getting to?
Yes.
So if you guys are on site together, you're both going to be familiar with if you're
Well, and that's
if you're in a shootout and everything else, like with the
Absolutely.
Hornet, that you guys are both trained on the same piece of equipment. Is that or?
And that would be a benefit, and I appreciate you bringing that up, is that similarity in equipment, you're right. If they needed ours, again, I think if you spoke to the sheriff, I think we have supported each other on some very difficult incidents in the last several years, and that equipment becomes a key piece of your ability to succeed.
This thing's been kicked. I mean, I was talking to Sheehan too about it, and it's a need, and I think it is time just to get it done. It's one of those things we don't want to regret having this conversation and then something happens. So I think it's this council, there's a few things that government is required to do, and public safety is one of them, and you're being asked to do a lot these days and to do more, and if you're telling me this is not a want, this is a need, then let's move on.
How often are we, I mean, it looks like you had a use of the current vehicle, but I mean, in the last couple of years, how often have you used the one you're using now?
Well, I can tell you that, so generally this is a SWAT asset, but I can tell you that there has been increasing frequency on SWAT call-outs based on threats, based on incidents, and so we have seen the need for our SWAT team to be called out, and it's not just a SWAT asset. I mean, it's deployed with SWAT. However, it's a rescue vehicle, and
But the current one that you use, I mean, it's working, right?
It works, but again, it is not, it was designed to deliver people and, if necessary, take a mine hit from below. It is massive. It doesn't work well in neighborhoods. It's about that far off the ground, which means when you get out of it, you have no ballistic protection from the waist down. It's not made for what we use it for. We have used it as that asset. We did everything we could because it was free to make that fit. And to some degree, we've been able to do that, but over the past 13 years of having it, we've realized that there's significant limitations. And it did its job. I think I kind of referenced it in Hornick, we had to have it towed out of there. It took a few rounds, and we had to have that towed off. But the State Patrol, who had a Bearcat at the time, that took multiple rounds, they drove out. So it just shows the difference. I mean, we've been able to utilize these things side by side with purpose-built things like a Bearcat, and we've seen where the significant limitations are. So it's just time. Like I said, we don't have ballistic door panels in our squad cars. We don't have much bulletproof equipment. We need something that can protect not only the officers, but the citizens that we might be evacuating, citizens in a neighborhood. We need something that can appropriately protect and function in an urban environment like a purpose-built vehicle can. And I agree. I think you said it very well. This is not a want. This has become a need over the years, and we're just getting to the point.
You need it when you need it.
Yeah, without a doubt. So.
What's Flex? I can't remember, Chief.
Flex is our operating system. That is our RMS. So it's Comm Center uses it, Sergeant Bluff uses it, the county uses it. It is our information database. It's used for dispatching by the county. It's used for records. There's a jail management piece that the jail uses. So it's a shared asset in our area. That's why we have the CIC committee right before the STARCOM committee. But it's basically where we place our data and where we draw our data from. And our RMS system a few years ago, that was a major project. RMS system a few years ago had reached the end of its lifespan, and we needed to transition to something more modern. And so the RMS changeover, obviously there's some server replacements that go with that. That would be an infrastructure piece. I think John stuck around if there was any questions about servers. That's certainly not my expertise. But this is just continued support and infrastructure for our records management system.
You will note that there is a reimbursement of costs because we do bill out a portion of that to the county and to Sergeant Bluff.
And credit to the finance. Finance has been terrific in working with not only the operating but the CIP. Teresa's kind of pushed us into the idea of forecasting as far ahead of time some of these things, so you as a council can see what might be upcoming, which I think is very thoughtful in forecasting what expenses down the line would be. And that's changed our way of thinking too, not necessarily from year to year, but from a strategic planning standpoint.
Do you have anything you'd like to say, Mr. Malloy, or, I mean,
What?
you've hung around so long, I hate to have you not have an opportunity to speak.
Oh, wow.
I'm for the new basketball hoops in the court at the Tyson Event Center.
Well, we're going to get those for you.
Appreciate that, Mayor.
That make your repping any safer if you're over there?
Yeah, it's hard to go across the baseline. You run into that thing, so.
Hard for him to get up and down the floor, but what the heck?
Don't state the obvious, Mayor. So. No, the Flex infrastructure is like our HCI, which, by the way, we believe HCI can handle the Flex infrastructure should you choose to go that way. Right now, Flex sits on its own, and we believe we can pull that into HCI if you wanted us to do that. We did a similar process with the county with Tyler Financials here 2-3 years ago. That ran on its own, then we brought it into our environment. So potential cost savings there. We did visit with Motorola, and it is a certified platform for that to run on. So it gives you options.
Anything else? Okay, thank you.
We are scheduled for a break. Would we like to take that or move on?
What time's our break?
We're a little bit ahead.
10:10, we're a little ahead of schedule.
Well, we'll go till 10.
Okay. We'll move on to Parks and Rec. Project 459005, annual athletic maintenance, page 186. Matt Salvatore.
Good morning. A lot of our projects are pretty self-explanatory this year, so as we flip through, just let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I have quite a few pages.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I'm done.
63,000 for a splash pad, what's that about?
Those are, that was last year, that was repairs to their existing splash pad.
Do that?
It hasn't been done yet, no. They're still working through that. It's in the event that they need it, if it's hopefully not that extensive, but it could be up to that amount.
And what, we do backstops on these fields? Like Goldie, I didn't realize that either.
I don't know that we've ever necessarily replaced those.
Well, that's what I'm asking, that you had 15.5 in there last year to do backstops, it says.
I don't remember that.
Then you're anticipated.
Oh,
And the
so
reason-
they're banking their own money to do backstops. This is all their bank money in the anticipated.
Oh, so it's.
So it's
3,000
cash.
For years, yeah.
It's cash, yeah.
That's fine, I get it.
So that's based on past year's allocations.
I got you, they just didn't spend it.
Right. And we allow them to bank it to do a
Yeah.
bigger project and make more of an impact on their money.
Right?
Project 459026,
I have a handout for this one. I'm going to pass it out real quick.
ball field relocation, page 188.
So this is a concept of where we have determined to relocate headed. So with the allowed budget, we could do up to 6 fields. And the nice thing about this location is room for future expansion. Other locations that we looked at, there was not the opportunity for that. So this location just made the absolute most sense, and it's fairly flat, so we're excited about bringing a project forward at this location. Yeah.
I agree. It's kind of amazing how this just happened to surface. Have you guys talked about any corporate sponsorship on this stuff? On these fields? Like a Jolly Time field or something like that? I mean.
Yes, we have.
Users.
Yeah.
That was the
we've had-
initial conversations that
Yep.
we had when we moved this over. I just want to make sure that conversation is happening. I think there's some real dollars out there.
Yeah, and we've
Conversation
had
I've
lots of
had.
meetings with Headed, and there's the expectation of fundraising to help fund this, and that's part of the budget as well.
So that, the other one is that I saw a plan for way out there on 28th, and I saw a plan from DGR they put together.
It's probably McClure.
Was it McClure or DGR?
Yeah, it was McClure.
Paid for that?
They didn't charge anything.
Okay, that's all I asked. 'Cause I
Yeah.
saw that, I'm like, who paid money to,
Right.
that hole in the ground? Okay.
Yep.
Careful with, I mean, you may be able to fundraise for fields, but I'm telling you, the Headed people have already called me because Merch Headed gave all that ground to the city years ago, so we need to make sure we're on legal ground before we get,
Right.
like naming the whole complex, I can tell you that, because there is some legal ramifications to that, I believe, so just so you know.
Project 459039, tennis, pickleball, basketball court replacement, page 189.
Mr. Mayor, real quick on that, is there still a representative for Merch Headed out there?
Oh, yeah. I can't tell you, I just know they called me and they're headed. I mean, they're headeds out in Morningside. Well, isn't the chief of, where's the chief at? Isn't the chief in like North Sioux headed? Yeah, and I know Dick Stone's wife just passed away, was a headed. And, oh, it was Deb Wisniewski, she's a headed. So, yeah, there's lots of headeds out there yet.
Did they have to sign off when that property got sold then?
Don't know the answer to that. I don't know.
If they didn't sign off on it, do they have any really legal?
I don't know.
I get it.
I'm
Right.
just
I
saying,
think-
I don't
Point.
understand. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
saying we need to make sure we're on solid legal
Sure.
ground before we go promise it to somebody else, that's all.
And I think the best opportunity would be to just to name each individual field.
Right. Well, you'll probably get more anyway.
Yes.
Project 459041, Cone Park, page 190.
I want
Was
to go
there-
back to,
Matt, was there
I want to go
nothing-
back to 189.
Yeah, was there nothing on the tennis and pickleball basketball court replacement?
Chris Larson Park, you just kind of built that, and those basketball courts get used all the time.
Yeah. We're already 5 years in.
Huh?
We're already 5 years in.
I know, but you're going to turn that into pickleball courts?
Oh, no. That would just be no.
Okay.
No, this would be
All right.
just, this is for resurfacing tennis courts, pickleball courts, and basketball courts.
Okay.
So that would be the resurface of that court.
Okay, well, that's
And
fine.
I agree, it's great to drive by and see how many
Yeah,
people use those
I was
courts
gonna
all the
say, boy,
time.
if you're turning-
All hours of the day.
I know, Matt.
And are you looking at expanding or resurfacing the pickleball courts in Riverside?
We just did last year. Yep.
So-
We
What's-
converted the tennis courts to pickleball,
So
so it's-
when you, I understand that, but when you mention that's just a title. You don't
yeah,
intend.
that's the title of the project, yeah.
But you're going to do, will that take tennis courts out of Leif Erikson when you do that? I know it's way down, but I want to know that.
I think we're proposing to keep Leif Erikson just tennis. So
Okay.
these are, it's for all of our courts.
Okay, so it's not you're not converting.
This is not a pickleball court project, it's a court project. And so it's resurfacing the, whatever it is.
Well, yeah, the only reason I'm saying that is keep that in mind, that if Keelan keeps talking about building their own tennis courts, because they're the major user of that facility.
If they do that, we would look at maybe making
Yeah.
some pickleball.
When you redo them.
Yes.
Project 459041, Cone Park, page 190.
So our new destination patio right behind the lodge there that turned out great. That was free as a part of Destination Iowa. That was all covered by grant
You don't,
funds. So this would just be to provide some furnishings at that new facility.
Project 459055, Annual IBP Ice Center Maintenance, page 192. Project 459058, Emerald Ash Borer, page 194.
I'll never win this vote, but I still struggle how trees in the right-of-way become my problem. You didn't take my $2,500 cottonwood down that was in my right-of-way. I don't know why I have to pay tax dollars to take bad trees down. I struggle with that, especially when I know that the whole thing's about $10 million, $7 million when we get done total. It's just, I don't get how that's a city function,
And
but
I think Sioux City has followed suit of what other communities are doing.
that doesn't make it right.
I'm not saying,
That doesn't make
and then it does become our problem once the tree is diseased or in need of taking down. So this is more of a proactive approach.
Sorry, I just don't get it. But we're doing it, so.
Project 459059, IBP Ice Center Enhancement, page 196.
This is just to cover debt/loan on the locker room expansion project.
Project 459102, Long Lines Family Rec Center, page 197.
So here we unfortunately have some structural issues that were identified, actually identified by OVG staff, and there's going to have to be some significant work done to address those structural concerns. It's already being designed and is scheduled to be bid out this spring.
So Matt, is this, I mean, we just heard from OVG and they had a line and under theirs, we're not double.
We are not double dipping. Yeah.
But what's your cooling tower repairs? Because that is the work that AC&R did a couple years ago.
We never ended up actually doing it. We looked at it,
AC&R did.
not for ours. I'll double check, but we planned it and then pushed it out.
Okay.
Do you want that to come back? Better.
Yeah, because we've had a couple projects down there for cooling towers in the last 3 or 4 years.
I remember discussing this a couple years ago significantly, and
Okay.
we had a much lower cost estimate, and now, after doing some investigation, it's higher, but it's further out.
Project 459133, annual park restroom repair and replacement, page 199. Project 459140, annual park roads, parking lots, trails, page 200. Project 459176, Chris Larson boat ramp replacement, page 202.
So the dock is being replaced this year. The rest of that is future. I don't know that the Corps would ever approve it. This is more of just a wish list item, so I don't know if this will probably keep getting pushed out.
Project 459179, annual swimming pool maintenance, page 204.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
Back up. Dolly Rogers?
Yeah.
Date on that, or you tear it down, are we gonna lease it, what are we gonna do?
We've had quite a bit of
Looks
interest.
really, really bad.
Yeah, we've had quite a bit of interest in people leasing that. So we need to repair some of the plumbing.
A lot of repairs.
Yeah, there's a lot of repairs.
Like, more than the eye meets the eye.
Yeah.
We toured it. There's gaps in the
Mhm.
concrete that are 6 feet deep, and
Yeah, the flood did all
it's
kinds of.
not leasable.
No, we'd have to do significant repairs, and that was, I think, a part of our marina.
Well, and annual park restroom repair.
Yeah, we have the restroom repairs as a part of
40,000
that.
there.
We will get some FEMA money for that, so we're kind of waiting to
Right.
see where we're at with the FEMA money, and if there's enough money to repair it, we will, and then we
Right.
can lease it. So we're just kind of hanging tight on the FEMA stuff.
Project 459179, annual swimming pool maintenance, page 204.
We have a couple big-ticket items here, per the building maintenance division. The filter replacement and the gutter replacement at Riverside is the big-ticket items.
When are you going to bid that? Because if you'd wait.
It would be after the swimming pool season. It's so difficult to try to get a big project done, but in the spring.
Project 459180, annual park improvements, page 206.
Yeah.
Back up again, you guys are faster than my brain works. Sorry. So Lewis Pool, you got 100 grand in there for painting this year?
Yep.
In lieu of some of the conversations that are gonna come, is that bid out already, or?
No, we haven't done anything with it.
Don't be afraid to push that.
Yeah.
Some of the
We will be sure to touch base with council before moving forward with that particular project.
Okay, thank you.
I think we did discuss the painting on that. If it's going to be an operation, it becomes a safety issue for the painting side of it, so if council's going to decide.
Check when the
I
last
recall
time
the
we
same.
painted that. It hadn't been that long ago.
Okay. We can bring it up back at wrap-up.
Project 459180, annual park improvements, page 206.
$650 to replace that canopy, huh? that the original canopy? We've gotten a pretty good life out of that. We built
We
it.
have, I think, 1991 or something like that. Yeah. This one's been in the budget every year, and it's just hard to work it in.
Peer review struggles with this one too, on doing it versus pushing it based on other needs. It's a hard.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Do we charge a fee for people using
Yeah,
that?
it's quite a busy facility.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there any way to put some of that towards replacing this? Or do we just use it for operations?
Yeah, it just goes in as a revenue fund. Teresa can answer that
Yeah,
question.
it goes into operations, so offsets the operations of property tax for operational use. We could certainly fund it into here, but I would imagine that would take an extremely long period of time for us to replace it at the amount that we receive each year.
Well, it sounds like we keep pushing it anyway.
Right.
So,
I would anticipate that's probably going to be like a 12 to 13-year repayment before.
Yeah, I agree.
We would get enough money to replace that, and I can't imagine we can hold off for 12 to 13 years to replace it.
No, but going forward, you ought to treat
Yep.
it like a,
right.
Yeah.
It depends on
Like
the length.
amortization?
Depends on the length, but I think the minimum's $250 a pop. Yeah.
Well,
what? The minimum's what? Oh,
The rental, yeah.
this gets pushed, are we going to,
Yeah, the painting would be in conjunction to that.
okay.
Yeah. All done at the
I know
same
we
time.
pushed that already.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing, when we built that, everybody questioned if anybody would ever use it, but that rental fee is more than paid for this
Do you
facility.
remember what it cost back then?
I think the whole thing, well, now you're asking me something back in the 80s, but,
But wasn't it donated?
well, the
A
money
large
was
chunk of it, a
donated,
Yeah.
large portion of it was.
was like, for that structure and that stuff, I think it was only like $380,000, $400,000 back then. I remember, I won't say his name, but a council member that didn't want to vote for it said, just put a gravel road around it because nobody will ever use it anyway. That didn't work out.
Yeah, it gets used all the time, and it's beautiful. The landscaping inside there.
You'll have to drive down and look at the names
from-
on the nameplate.
Prom pictures,
Yeah.
I mean, it gets used a lot.
We got a complaint this summer about somebody using the park because of all the traffic from people taking prom pictures at there.
Yeah.
It's a destination.
Nice problem to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't, I mean, it was a lot of money back in the 80s,
Yeah.
but it's still not what you're going to pay for that roof.
Matt, last week, we kind of looked at increasing some rates for some of the other. This was, I mean, the riverfront stuff wasn't included in any of that, right?
No, just shelters. Yeah.
And is the canopy going to be the same material, I mean,
Yeah.
options?
I don't think so.
The only way you change that is you color the lights underneath.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
something like that.
We have lights under there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like modern ones, though?
LED, multicolor. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking while we're tearing the top off of it, is there something,
There's multiple vendors that do it, but it's the same product. Yeah.
I think you can get colors though, can't you?
We have colors. Oh, yeah, we could do a different color. Yeah, you're right. Is that what you're saying?
yeah.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
get
Something
different
different
colors.
than what it is, possibly.
Just eliminates the light feature that we have, unless you're in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You and I can meet on that.
sure.
You're like, dang. I'll send you a text.
That was good.
And so that 650, was that an estimate that you got from somewhere, or?
Yeah, we've been updating it over the years. Yeah.
Project 459212, annual Lewis and Clark Park improvement, page 209.
So this is a work plan for funding a new video board. We're at the end of our life with our existing video board. We're going to have a new naming right sponsor for the field that'll help fund this. And also some of the lease payments that we receive well, will also offset.
But you're still doing it for only 30,000 a year?
Yeah, Sarah, do you want to explain? Oh, the naming rights? Yeah, it's proposed to be, is that right? Yeah, 30/7.
But that's the same.
That's the same as what it was last time.
I know.
I know.
But we did
Yeah.
that was the best offer that we received. We did a RFP.
Sign that's on all the time. I don't.
Project 459214, Aquatic Comprehensive Plan, page 210.
What would we hope to gain? Oh, that's not a plan. That's for that playscape and all that.
That's replacement.
Yeah, that's be it.
Riverside?
Yeah, the zero depth area.
$100,000 in engineering for a $300,000 job. Why does?
No, those are for future, if we would ever move forward with a splash pad.
Okay, but
So it's 50 for a $400,000 project.
But those will continue to get pushed out
Yeah,
until we close.
until we know this will keep getting pushed.
So these are anticipation of closing the 2 pools, and they'll continue to get pushed as long as the pools are still open.
Don't we currently, I mean, we currently have a splash pad now, right?
We have all kinds of splash pads.
But not in
Right.
these 2
So-
locations.
This is in the event we close a pool and replace it with splash pad.
Right, but why would we not use the same design? I mean, that's already been,
Well, no, we would, but you still have all the site work that needs to get done.
Topography and,
Yeah. We would use the one that we did at Hennington is very well done. I think we would just duplicate that at other locations. Yeah.
Design of the pad itself, I think, is what Ike is talking
Yeah,
about. But we're talking about engineering.
it's the utility part of it that's expensive.
well, I was just looking at, we're paying for a design that we know where we're going, right?
But they're designing the utility portion, the grading.
it's more
The actual-
inclusive than the aesthetic functional pieces. It's the,
That part's
it's
done.
the infrastructure.
It's
that
the
you're-
infrastructure part. That's a good way of saying that.
Gotcha.
Can we bring that back and wrap up, have a discussion on?
Sure.
Please.
Yes. Yeah, I've already kind of had that. Yeah,
Project 459235,
they're ready.
Sioux City Marina Maintenance, page 212.
The dock repair project has been bid out, is underway.
Project 459302, City Trails, page 214.
This is just our work plan for when we receive TAP grants. So this is all based on being awarded a grant.
Project 459321, Floyd Trail Connector, page 216.
So that project is, the actual project, the main project is happening this spring. But after the viaduct gets completed, the next part for FY '28 is just to fill that in. And that could end up getting pushed depending on the timing. We left out a chunk for the viaduct project.
Project 569001, Cemeteries Improvements, page 218.
Are these the asphalt overlays?
Yep. We just did a huge one at Graceland last year. Turned out great.
Did what?
Overlay at Graceland last year. So this would be Logan and/or Floyd.
Well, if Gordon has these ready, based upon the bids last week, you ought to get the darn things bid.
Okay. And we've worked with engineering to get these done in the past, so I can get it on his list.
Can't bid right away, I get it, till April, but they should bid them.
These asphalt bids are coming back great.
Project 663238, Reinvestment District, Siouxland Expo, page 219.
That's just the debt of the building from when it was built.
We just took that debt and spread it out over multiple years. So we have 2 years left of debt on that building.
And that's it?
Well, we haven't paid it back yet.
That's great.
Project 719011, Annual Median Enhancements, page 220.
Those enhancements ought to be tear them out. Take the 40 and start tearing the dang thing out.
This is just a placeholder for future opportunity, but yeah, they're a labor of love.
To add to that, Mayor, Public Works team goal is not to rebuild medians unless they are traffic necessary. When we replace, when they're gone, they're gone. We're going to paint our medians going forward like we did on Hamilton because they're problematic, as you know. So that is the direction that we're moving. No medians unless they're absolutely necessary for cross-traffic, things like that.
And to that point, I think the medians that were taken out at Hamilton Boulevard and Stone Park are a great example of, to your point, Julie, why. And so would the Gordon Drive, it was a very good insistence then. Would that, where would we stand on the Gordon Drive medians?
Let you take
Those
them
are
out.
Those are DOT.
Please,
Yeah.
medians. But Hamilton Boulevard, we should have argued this again for 50 years. We should have never put them in.
Right.
I'm no less safe driving today with that median out than I was with that median. And in fact, I argue that I'm safer because the snowplow doesn't bounce off them. And
In Lakeport as well.
That's the direction that they're planning to stay on in the future.
all right.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll
Thanks,
be
Matt.
back in 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, up next we have Administrative Services, Project 889001, Annual City Building Repair, page 54.
So anything for 27 is, there's no asking for any new amounts. We're using project balance just for unanticipated repairs for 27. We have removed what was previously in there for going through City Hall for wall and ceiling coverings and put that on staff to do that. And I think it's working out well, and they're just hitting it systematically as they can, and it's coming in a lot cheaper than we would have contracted it out for. So seasonally, they have different times they're freed up, and that's kind of the route we're going.
Project 889012, annual field service facilities maintenance, page 56.
This shows you on the utilities building kind of where we stand, that they're going through the final punch list next week. Hopefully get staff in there the last week of January, first week of February. And so right now, you can see the encumbrances left at the bottom of that page as a small negative balance. There is no amount in 27. The amount in 28 is strictly a placeholder for a discussion about storage building for materials. Right now, the quotes are looking high, so that's why we pushed it off till 28, because it's a big number, and we just can't quite justify the number.
Moving to airport, project 749084, annual airport capital projects, page 62.
So you all know about the runway project, obviously, and when the media looks at our askings and you see the airport huge percentage, that's mostly not city funds. Just, I think you're all aware of that. You know, the $111 million that was reported for the 5 years, the city portion of that's about $6 million. Specifically for 27, of the 34 million in askings, 1.8 of that is match money, local money by the city for GEO.
So I did have a few questions for you,
Yeah.
Mike. One, how, well, the match, what is the local match obligation like over that time period? Or
So for 27, the numbers we list beside there, for the runway example, that 32%, 65%, and the 3% is us. The 32% is the FAA, the 65% is the military. So those splits usually generate what is our percentage versus, so everything we do pretty much is grant related. The only thing we have in there for a project that isn't grant related is replacement of rooftop units for HVAC. That is the only locally funded only project in next year. Otherwise, we're a 10% match, or a 50% match, or a 34% match on, and if we don't get the grants, we don't do the project.
that was going to be my next question. If we don't get it, what happens?
Moving to transit, project 739020, annual transit capital projects, page 360.
Again, the grant percentages are listed beside each of the project amounts there. The one thing that we did include additionally is elevator modernization. We did receive a grant in the prior year for that. When we looked at full scoping of that, it appears that it's going to cost more just because of code updates that they have to go through and do when they modernize elevators. So like the Tyson, MLK was opened the same year, 03. So we're 23 years into that facility and 2 elevators at MLK for modernization.
Project 739021, replacement of transit rolling stock, page 362.
This, we put down here a plan that lays out the useful life replacement of these things, but we don't buy any buses unless any grant money is given to us. So anything we have for 26 or 27, 29, it's kind of a placeholder. If we get a grant, we'll bring back and put that bus in front of council for approval, but we don't bring anything forward with local dollars. And it's usually 85% for federal dollars. Like John said, there's a huge increase in the actual cost of a heavy-duty bus right now. Last year's estimate was about $650. It could be as high as $1 million now. It's just a huge increase in what's out there for a cost, so we'll keep you posted on that.
We ever look at those reconditioned anymore?
I have not for a long time, just, they have their own challenges.
Okay, Economic and Community Development, Project 611001, City Share New Residential Development, page 75. Marty Doherty.
Morning, Mayor and Council.
Morning, Marty.
Moving fast this morning. Yeah, the first one is the DIG funds, City Share New Residential Development, and what you have on there is basically what we are committed to at this time.
Well, hold on a minute.
Project 66312.
No, just a minute.
Okay.
But you're also committed for $1 million next year. You're committed out 2 years, right?
What
Yeah.
we have in fiscal year '27 is what we've have committed in agreements.
Do what?
What is budgeted in fiscal year '27 is what we have for committed agreements.
But 28 and 29 are also committed.
True, I guess, yep, true.
28
Yeah,
and 29
that's
are
what
both
I'm
committed.
saying.
Those
So-
are just,
So
those,
we don't have any dig funds for a long time.
correct. Right,
As it
28 and
stands
29
today, Mayor, that's correct.
Based on the agreement, 28 and 29 will have repayments back, but we don't know exactly when that will be.
Mr. Mayor, you're making my point. I think this is one of those line items we need to take either revisit at the end or take a hard look at. Marty, what's your wish list on a dig fund bucket? Anticipating some of the stuff coming out, and if we want to spawn some of these guys, some of the,
So, again, as budgeted, the amounts shown here, you wouldn't be able to get any funds until fiscal year 2030.
yeah, that don't work.
So, based on the commitments that have been made to date. So, that's, if we have others interested, of course.
Yeah, we have a couple projects we're working on right now that would probably total around 200,000. And then we have a couple other developments that have been high level in the works that we don't have a dollar amount for those yet.
I would like to propose that we look at, and to run past the council, throw, I mean, it sounds crazy, but throw another $1 million in that fund, simply because I think that we've put the bar pretty high on what I think developers are going to start to expect for bigger projects, but I think they also got their eyes and their ears perked. So if we're going to spend money, I'd like to see us front load this department, Renee, if that makes sense.
I do want to note, this is transfer in water and sewer. I know you see that, but this doesn't have implications on rates. So as we go to balance the water and sewer funds, I want you to keep in mind adding to those funds too.
Right.
Which, if we did add another $1 million to it, that's pretty close to where we ramped up the dig funds over the last few years. I think when I started, it was around 250K, and it was not near enough. So then we added another. I think we added 250K every year until we reached, was it $1 million or $1,250,000? Yeah. So it puts us back to where we were, so that we had money to offer.
We just don't want it where they come in their perspective and they say, what do you got for dig funds? You say, we got nothing until 2031. And
Right.
what a buzzkill. The project might not develop for another year or whatever, but I think that we need to load that bucket back up.
But we are planning to utilize residential TIF to assist.
Yes.
Never have in the past.
Correct.
When we can.
All
yep.
the above.
When we can, right.
But we'll bring that back to wrap up, and that'll allow you guys to vote on it at that time.
And that'll give us the opportunity to look at that.
Yep. So we'll bring it back to wrap up, and then at that time, you have the ability to vote.
Project 663122, Floyd Valley redevelopment, page 76.
We did push this back in peer review, so it was showing no funding in 27 and then 528.
So when is, gave us the memo, but when's that baseball building going to start?
It's supposed to start this spring. That's what they've told us.
Supposed to start last fall, I think.
Correct.
I mean, that's the problem. We sell this land and we never hold a developer accountable to meeting any time frame to build.
The development agreement has construction by the end of '26, so they can still meet that time frame.
Well, he's gonna have to hurry. But we'll extend it anyway, because that's what we do here. That's my problem.
But speaking of the extension, then would we also, if we did give an extension?
No, then we extend the tax increment too. We don't hold them accountable. and then-
That's what I was just going to say. Then they
And
need
we
to be
hold
held
it- we
accountable
do that
for what
too, so.
is missed. We've talked about that before, Marty.
Yes. We do our best to hold them accountable. Again, they did have till the end of
Show me
20.
the last time we have.
Pardon?
Show me the last time we have.
We have, we.
Who? Water Park wanted an extension, we gave them an extension. We extended the tip out. When's the last time we didn't extend the tip out?
I'd have to get back to you on that, Mayor.
You haven't done it.
No, we have not done that, and we should. I agree with that. We finally acted on our development agreement with the parcel down at the Katy Station, the Lindblom that was not fulfilling the development agreement. The Burger King site on Floyd, we canceled that one. So we're doing it, but it could be done better. I agree.
As I said, Mayor, we do our best to hold the developments to a schedule that's agreed on in the agreement. Some of the commercial ones you're thinking of, it's somewhat at the mercy of the ultimate owner of the property or the business that's going in there. But we can get you a list if you'd like of dates of recent
I
developments.
have it pretty well in my head, Marty. I don't need you to get.
Okay.
Project 663.
Some of that, excuse me, some of the ones in Floyd Valley that we've been working with are ones that have been affected by the viaduct acquisitions, and we're continuing to work with several businesses there that are having to relocate. We may or may not need these funds here, but if we do, that's kind of an active area of redevelopment. Talking about Floyd Valley. Okay.
Project 663150, speculative building development, page 78.
I want to bring this back and get rid of this page. I'm the only guy that ever wants to do this, and it's foolishness that we keep a page in here because we have absolutely zero plans to do this, which I've never understood because the developer upfronts the cost. We only pay the interest, and we don't have any inventory for these type of buildings, but yet we continue to drag our feet and not do it. So why do we even have this page in here anymore? It doesn't make any sense to me.
I guess we haven't had the interest. There are active projects on the private side that are building spec buildings, and we kind of have this if we need to, but we have seen some good redevelopment and development of.
Yeah, but we've had it in there and didn't do anything for 5 years anyway, and there's been the city assessor just told us the other day that the most hottest property in Sioux City is warehouse space. We don't have enough. So there's no reason to keep this thing in there.
You want to bring it back for discussion at wrap-up?
Yeah, just take it, I'll
We'll bring it back for
move it
wrap-up
out. We're
discussion.
never going to do it anyway.
Well, it's probably a chicken and egg situation. If you've got a developer that is interested in the joint project and the speculative nature of the facilities, it works, but you're just not finding developers that are interested.
Here's how it works if we don't want to do it. You take it out for bid, contractors bid it, say Mr. Koskovich is the selected, he's got to carry the building for 3 years. We pay him his interest on that. He has to show us his interest. We write a check for the interest. We're not out any money up front. And then if it doesn't sell in 3 years, we got to buy the building. But every one we've ever had is sold within that 3-year period. because we don't have inventory for a 50,000 square foot. We might now because Nelson's doing some out there finally on, but before we didn't have any inventory for a 50,000 square foot building. So you don't have an inventory, you don't sell them.
We can test the market again, Mayor, if you'd like. Happy to do that.
No, I've lost all interest in it. I'm the only one that ever pushed it anyway, so it's okay.
I think just in general, I'm supportive. I can't speak for the others, but I think, Bob, I think you raised good points. I'd certainly like to see what you and Renee can develop over time and maybe bring it back to us.
Okay, you'll do that.
Because to your point, the assessor noted, these kinds of properties are limited in our community. And if there is a limitation, good developers like Paul and others will find an opportunity.
Okay.
We own this property, Bob?
We just put it on one of our lots, like down to south, down south, or
We own this one.
yeah.
We own this one.
Yeah.
We just pick a lot. The last one we did was,
North of Seaboard,
huh?
where Tritt's Pallet went, just north
Yeah,
of Seaboard.
by where Tritt's Pallets went by Seaboard. It's set for 2 years. The developer, H&R, built it. They got to do the build out. We gave them their interest money and they sold the building, and
We give them the ground?
it was part of the package when they sold.
Oh, we just got our money left for it sold.
I'd like you to keep it in, we'll do it. I mean, we just don't even know about this stuff.
Yeah, I didn't either.
You got to come up here, Paul.
He's saying he's building land price in until sale.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Can you state
The
your
city
name?
pays our interest and carrying costs.
Can
I
you
get
state
it.
your name for us, please?
Paul Koskovich.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the city just pays the carrying costs until the building's sold. I get it. We'll do it. But it's like stuff like this. We don't even know about it.
Well, because we haven't done one, that's my point. We could keep this in here, but we don't do it anyway, so if we're not gonna do it, which is fine with me, then let's take the sheet out and quit pretending like.
But my thing is like, I agree. We're not doing it because, I mean, why is this not being sent out? We would do this. We'll start tomorrow, but we don't even know about this stuff.
I know.
Why?
Because we haven't done one.
But you're keeping it in the budget, so obviously you're telling this department, right? You want to do it, right?
Yeah, but that.
I guess I'm getting to the point, like, why is this department not out soliciting this?
Because it gets moved back every year, so they don't have the right to. That's not their fault. The council doesn't move it up 1 year, that's the problem. It's not their fault. But I'm just saying, we always move it back when we get here today, so there's no reason to keep it. That's all my point.
He's saying it keeps getting pushed forward into a future year. So if we moved it forward, they wouldn't have a project to offer you. And that's what's been happening year after year.
All right, well, I'd like you to not push it forward.
So to Rick's question, the land we show in the illustration there, we had gone to a preliminary site. We had done a site plan for 2 buildings on that site, I believe, that we were going to do as a spec building. And then we ended up selling to RMS that built that building. Well, we had that land kind of laid out for spec buildings, 2 spec buildings, and a better deal came along. They wanted to buy it and move it there. I think you were part of that, Mayor, that got them to.
But Marty, we've got land up on 46th Street, we've got land down by Cold Link, we got land. It doesn't have, just because that was the site for this deal, that's not why this hasn't gotten done. The reality is that got done because it hasn't been a priority of the council, which is fine.
You're correct. I was just saying, we did have two buildings laid out on this
You
land.
still got land to do one.
We have other land, of course.
Well, you got land right there to do one.
We do. We have other land. I'm just saying the progression of that by getting the street put in, and that's clearing the site and all that, it led to RMS building there, which I would think is a preferable. We've got a local company that was expanding. We sold them the land and they redeveloped it. So
Marty, it has nothing to do with that site.
well, okay.
Nothing to do with it.
That's the site we had looked at.
This model is not nailed to that site.
No.
We can use the model
Just
somewhere else.
correct.
Correct.
That's what we're all
So
going
we
to
had
agree
done
on
the
right
site
now.
design.
Maybe what we should do, Marty and Renee, is put together an inventory of sites that are available, do an RFP and start working with developers, assuming you have to submit a
And
notice.
Paul's done other buildings right out in that same area. He does a nice job of building those kinds of buildings, so we'd be happy to work with him or anybody else.
Well, you put out an RFQ, he says a 50,000 square foot building costs 850,000 and the interest rate's 5%. Rick puts out, it's 825, but it's 6%. You do the math and figure out who's the person that's the best choice. That's how we did it the last time, and it worked fine.
So in reality, it wouldn't, because it's pay ahead, it wouldn't hurt to juice that, would it, that budget? That's only for one building, right, the 3-year interest?
You're just putting the carrying cost.
That's all you're doing is carrying it. So what does it matter if you're carrying $500,000 in there? If you're really trying to spawn this thing. I mean, Mr. Mayor, I gotta be honest, I never heard of this either. And I'm just saying is that if we did, if it's just carry forward, does the amount really matter that we're putting forward?
No,
It's all based upon whoever bites, right?
Yeah, and if you go, spec buildings were a big thing back in the 90s. If you went to All Power down south, you went to the old John Morrell feed down south. If you went to, even not L&L, but it was before, there's 3 of those buildings down.
Yeah, I get the model I completely get. I'm just saying is that, what we're saying is that it's not being presented to the development communities because we're not front-loading the dollars that we're gonna carry if they don't get used anyway. So I'm saying is that let's just don't do the 168, and that's one. If there's a demand out for it, let's front-load 2 or 3, whatever that industry you think it is.
The concern with that is that it is a TIF, it's down a TIF, so we have to be careful to make sure we have enough in the TIF. Right, yeah, depending on what the TIF is and where the location is, we just have to look at that to make sure it's already there because of the transfer.
Carried away
Yeah.
doing it, because the reason is Nelson is building a big one that's designed, we don't need to be in a huge competitor. Now, they're building it for a bigger deal, but they're gonna probably split it.
But they might also get aggressive if they see if we're looking to try to build 2 or 3 of these in town, there's other players that would jump in also. So
I agree. I think if you put out this RFP and there's multiple, why, if there's enough money in the pot to cover costs, why wouldn't you have multiple going?
Well, the reason is I don't wanna go, I mean, if you're gonna go out there today and build a building, and you're not part of this, right?
Yeah.
I don't wanna compete against you with 3 or 4 buildings. That's not fair to you as a developer either.
So it doesn't look like the city's.
So if we did one, just in an area where there isn't one going, is all I'm saying.
Point taken.
See how it works. And then we should always have one in the pipeline, in my opinion. I've said that because every one we've ever done has sold within 3 years.
this is that new council, Bob, you gotta get excited.
So we can bring this back and
Look at
you
that.
can determine
So-
to move it forward. If you want to move it to 27, we can do that.
Let's move it.
Well, we'll bring it back to wrap up so you can vote on that.
While I'm here, can we talk about getting more dig funds? I don't really think a million's
You
enough.
missed it, we already did.
We threw $1 million in.
I know, but it's not enough.
You need more? What's the number?
I mean, it's not enough because of what you guys just agreed to on Lieber Heights. So
That's
I'm just
right.
telling
I
you.
agree.
I talked to you about a project just yesterday, and I mean, it's going to be massive, and $2 million is not enough. So it's just not enough.
You got like 60 days to convince that
All right, well, I'm just starting.
So, yeah, just to wrap up on that, Charlie Nelson is building a 100,000 square foot spec building on the north side. The ones that had been, these numbers were built around a 50,000 square foot, no,
it's
not
plain
completely
vanilla.
finished.
You don't even put a floor in it.
Well, I
Yeah,
can count
it's
on one hand.
It's a shell,
5 guys, it would be.
it's a shell building, so, okay.
Project 663162, Southbridge Rail.
So this project Marty brought to me yesterday with better estimates of maintenance costs. So we'll be bringing to you guys during the wrap-up for a technical change. So right now, we'll be able to, with the current cash, move $97,382 out of this project to fund something else because the cost is significantly less than anticipated. And that will cover the 27 through the 31 year.
We did have our rail guy, the company we work with, Via Rail, do an analysis of the current rail yard, which is now 10 years old, and it needs regular maintenance. So we were going to, as Teresa said, we have better numbers now, and we'll come back with that. But it's not enormous cost. It's just maintenance that's smart to do as you go forward.
Project 663-164, Business Park Tech Studies, page 82.
As part of development, you have to do environmental studies, you have to do site certification, or it's a good idea to do site certification. So these funds are, that's what we use these for in the different TIF districts.
What's the additional north side property testing on page 82?
Anticipated expenses?
I think that's the property up off 46th Street. 54 acres that we acquired up there.
What are you doing, soil
For the
boring?
storm ponds, to determine where the storm ponds and everything go.
Yeah, you have to get Corps of Engineers approval and that type of thing. So they have to do soil tests.
Already done all that, but okay.
We have done a fair amount of it. That's in 26, that's in the current year.
Right.
It's ongoing, I guess.
Project 663-211, Blight Removal, page 90.
Daryl, you'll be glad to know I drove to, where did I drive last? Somewhere out of town, to Ames. And you'll be glad to know that the gas stations in town, what are they called, what?
White Oak.
You'll be glad to know that they've abandoned them in a lot of other towns too.
But
We're not unique.
we are this close to having them completely erased from Sioux City history. So the last contract is
I can't imagine a company that bought all of that and paid all that money for the real estate.
I don't.
I think I saw two on the way to Ames last week.
I think they've closed them all over.
Yeah?
They were, they showed interest, but I don't think they ever did their due diligence in a lot of communities to look and see what the actual property actually was.
Is the last one the one on Gordon that I
The
inquired
last
about?
one is on Morningside Avenue.
Oh,
Gordon
yeah,
Drive.
okay. Is Gordon gone?
Yep.
Gordon Drive is gone.
I think we got a person for
Yeah,
that spot.
which is great for
Yeah.
development there, and the one on Morningside,
Just
contracts are
just put the curb back in.
Did.
Well.
I struggle with that sometimes with some of the demolitions, because if we don't redo the curb, we have people driving all over the lots.
Yeah, you got to do
They're
that.
dragging mud out, and
Well, just so the DOT lets them have a curb cut back.
the nice
Off
part of
the other street.
Oh, it's on the other street, okay.
the nice part of this is that we do, this company actually that had bought those locations has actually been paying us the invoices for the demolition.
Good.
But hasn't been removing as much money out of our demolition.
Oh, good.
In that regard. So it goes back into the general fund, but at least we're able to recoup those dollars.
All their work for them.
Yeah. That's what it takes. We'll get it done.
That's right. Well, it'll be nice to have somebody in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Project 663-221, Phase 2, Home Investment Partnership, page 92.
Jill Wanderscheid, Neighborhood Services Manager. This project was originally funded with franchise fee settlement funds that the city didn't end up paying back to all of those recipients. So we've been utilizing this fund. We originally had about $800,000. We've been utilizing it since 2016. We have primarily been using it for homes that have deficiencies that if they are left uncorrected, it would lead to a tag. So we're trying to catch more property before it ends up on Daryl's list. And so as you can see, we are almost spent through all of those funds. We're looking at alternate sources of funding, including our typical federal grants. We also just received $315,000 from Mid-Americans. That's been a great partner for us. That was back in August. We've almost expended all of those funds already in homes in Sioux City, so huge need. We're also working with Federal Home Loan Bank to get some additional funding in to offset the loss of these funds. So hoping to continue to move forward with several housing rehab projects throughout the city.
The way that they funded you, I mean, you know, that we talk about in the Housing Trust Fund, that was a great lift.
Huge.
And we make them aware that
yes,
this money's going away, and perhaps they see how, you know, because they love what you're doing.
Yes, and I think just how fast we've been able to spend the funding. We actually have until the end of 26 to spend the 315, and I think we have less than 30,000 left, something like that. So we're hoping as we spend it quickly that they can see that there's a huge need here in Sioux City, and we follow all the rules, we do all the things we're supposed to do, we make it easy for them, so.
What they wanted it.
Yes. Yeah, primarily we use it for HVAC, some windows, things like that too.
Can we scale that? Like, how many homes, with the 81,000, do we know roughly how many homes that
Yeah.
can touch or?
So let's see, by the end of the last fiscal year, so the end of June, we completed improvements on a total of 81 properties. And that included out of that 6 that were on the red tag list that had a new owner. We partnered with them and got those off the list. And then the remaining 75 were all homes that weren't yet on the list. I would say each year, with all of our funding sources that we use, we're rehabbing or touching between 75 and 100 houses in Sioux City.
With lead, you're doing more than that, aren't you?
Well,
that's lead and
That's what I'm saying,
CDBG.
but
Yeah,
that has the same impact.
Yeah, I would say lead, yeah, I would say between 75 and 100 total, because lead we're doing, depending on where we're at in the grant, around 45 to 50 a year. And those are typically pretty big projects, as the mayor knows.
So if we don't, with some of the grant stuff, if we don't receive that, where are we?
So what happens is with our CDBG funds, that's our primary source of funding for housing rehab. We're limited to how much money we can spend per home based on federal requirements of $25,000. So then we backfill everything else. Our typical, because we're usually touching pretty much every component of a home because, as Marty's mentioned before throughout many meetings, our housing stock is very old here. So if we lose some of these other funding sources, then we can't do as large of projects and we're not being as impactful, and we're probably going to be back to that house in 5 to 10 years as it continues to deteriorate. We do receive funds through the state of Iowa, and that's through that Housing Trust Fund. We run a separate nonprofit through our office that those funds funnel through. Julie serves on the board for that too. And we can provide up to 10,000 of assistance in those too. So the more funding we can get and the more diverse sources we can get, the better, because it just allows us to do more comprehensive projects that keep these homes standing and on the tax rolls for years to come.
In those homes,
Yes.
that otherwise wouldn't be able to. It could be moving a laundry room upstairs, some of those projects to keep an elderly person, modeling a bathroom, handrails.
Exactly.
Handicap ramps go along with, if you start a lead project, it usually leads to the windows.
Yep.
It could be anything, but it keeps folks homes in good repair.
Just wanted to add, this particular project is phasing out because the source of money's been
Yeah.
used.
Yep. Right.
But Jill does a good job, and her team does a good job of pursuing either state or federal grants wherever they are. And the lead grant is an example where we've consistently been able to get millions of dollars, really.
Got $5 million.
And flexible as far as what source, but we keep working to get as many houses we have as possible.
Looking for money.
We appreciate that.
I was going to say, thank you.
Yeah.
Project 663222, Downtown Aesthetic Improvements, page 94.
Yeah, this is one that we were a little frustrated a few years ago with the ability to apply the funds effectively, but what we started doing was working with engineering to pair these with other downtown street projects, of which there are a lot, and that's what we've done here, and the plan is to continue to do that.
I think Downtown Partners has participated in some of these as well.
They have, yeah.
Project 663301, Downtown Facade, page 100.
So prior to fiscal year '26, we utilized these funds to help property owners with improving the exterior facades of existing buildings. But in fiscal year '26, we did shift our focus. For 2 years, we're trying a new program that we created to help property owners and potential tenants with interior improvements. We see the biggest barrier to filling our storefronts downtown is the build-out of these spaces. So we've created a new program, partnering with Downtown Partners to help utilize these funds to help with the build-out We've had 16 interested people who have, we've met with and talked about their projects. We have 9 that are still actively looking at sites or properties in downtown and planning to apply in the near future. We don't have an approved application yet, but these funds will hopefully be used to help these 9 people get into a space downtown.
And this is a pretty darn new program, so.
Started last July.
Yeah, but you haven't spent a dime. So why would we fund another 200 until we see if, the 9 you got, how much money is it going to take?
Well, our program provides either up to $45,000 for retail or $60,000 for a restaurant space. It's based on square footage. We don't go above 50% of the total cost. So the 200 we have now could cover 3 to 4 projects probably.
Man, I wish I was in the downtown. I really missed it by being a few blocks away.
Open a coffee shop.
No.
Unbelievable how much we spend on
Got 2 million.
all this stuff downtown, and we just can never find any money for the other areas of town. You've heard this every time. You'll continue to hear it. It's ridiculous, so.
Project 663305, North Side Industrial Development, page 102.
I'd like that one before to come back, at least so I can vote no. Better.
Where are we at?
102. Page 102.
This project was pushed back a year already from during peer review, the funding for that. But there was an active project, a corporate project that we had looked at for the site that, well, I don't want to say too much more about it, but, you know, that had located in another location, chose another location. So.
This is a great site. Do you think it's going to take through this fiscal year to find others that might be interested in this location?
I think it's a great site and actively show it, and we'll continue to do that. I'm excited. I've always been excited about this site. I think it's, I said, we're doing, as we mentioned earlier, we're doing some of the necessary work to deal with the core. You know, anytime you're along a levee, you have to do preliminary work for the Corps of Engineers, and identify where stormwater can go and get the approvals and so on. But it's a flat site near the highway. I think it has great potential.
Do you think it has primarily commercial or industrial interest, or residential, or maybe a combination?
We think it's a great, you know, we had a goal of having some industrial land on the north side somewhere. So much of it has been focused on southeast and south of the airport, that this was a site we identified and should work well for, I think, maybe light industry. I don't think it's heavy industry, but light industry or commercial is the best use of it.
Developers I've talked to seem to be very interested, so I just think we need to be open-minded and be as aggressive as we can. I think it's a great location.
Springdale is filling up. And we need a place where a small contractor can go, and this is an ideal site.
Yeah.
Especially when you can get on the interstate and off right there, so. I would think Koskovich would have bought out there
He
already.
does not like the site. I've already contacted him.
I mean, it's absolutely horrible.
Don't.
Project 663306, CBD Slum and Blight, page 104.
Oh, you know what, can I, oh, yeah. This is another one where.
Which project, Bob?
The 104. We don't have any examples. I mean, it just, you got the money, and what are we doing with it?
Are you talking about 306?
104 page, yeah.
CBD, Slum and
Oh, page 104.
Yep, so these funds are used for opportunity acquisitions around downtown. We were working with a developer to acquire about a 10-acre site that did fall through, but we were able to use our cash balance to go towards the purchase of the Walgreens and Ashley site. So had we not had those funds, we probably would not have been able to move forward with that. So we try and keep a steady amount in here so that we have an opportunity to acquire properties that become available. We do have a priority list that we could provide to council, if that would be helpful.
Yes, please.
We'll bring that to wrap up, as a wrap-up memo. Okay.
Project 663-310, Boys and Girls Home, Court Street, page 106.
So we've spent about 3 or 4 years working on this project. We did receive some EPA funding a couple years ago that allowed us to move forward with a Phase 1 and Phase 2 site assessments on the property, as well as a site reuse and revision plan, which you can see on the second page here of this project. We are actively working with the Boys and Girls Home to apply for a current round of funding that's available. That would be used for remediation of the site, so asbestos and lead-based paint remediation. So in fiscal year 27, where you see the 1.8 million, those funds would come from EPA. It is 100%. There's no match this year, so we're applying to get those funds. Fiscal year 28, the funding you see, the 2.2 million, would be for demolition of the older structure on the property and the ancillary buildings that are also there and the tunnels that are on the site. The idea is to make a shovel or, development-ready site so that when the Boys and Girls Home vacates and moves to their new campus on the north side, we have a property that's ready to go for a developer to come in.
I'm going to probably ask this a lot, but, what happens if we don't get those grants? I mean,
The property will probably sit there for a while because it's a pretty heavy lift for a developer to come in and do all of those expenses.
All right, the two.
This is, no question, one of the most challenging problems we have in Sioux City. It is enormous 12, 13-acre campus with this huge facility. Yeah, and we've tried to take a kind of a careful approach to looking for every kind of funding. Getting EPA funding, as Renee mentioned, to evaluate what the condition of the building was in terms of environmental challenges and so on. Getting the EPA money helped put together this plan, and we had a neighborhood meeting and worked with different people, and kind of came to this plan as a consensus maybe was the best approach, but fully understanding that we need to get more grant funds. We need to partner with the developer or developers, and we need to get as much grant funds as we can because it is a huge, huge set of buildings. And but the good news is it's also a great opportunity. We have a neighborhood there that could use some investment. We have a huge piece of ground, as you can tell from the concept plan, that you could not only rehab the space that can be rehabbed, but also add other types of housing units there. So in terms of affordable housing and neighborhood revitalization, it could really play a big role. But it's challenging. We've pursued every kind of EPA or other kinds of funds that we could find. We have an opportunity right now, we think, to pick up some funding to do some of the remediation. That's what we're pursuing at the moment. But it's challenging.
Project 663-311, Southeast Development, page 108.
These funds would be used to extend utilities and streets if development were to happen. We've identified some potential sites for data centers in this area. We have a couple that have expressed interest, but nothing that I don't believe is actively looking at the property. So these would only be utilized if we have a project in that area.
You really think, I know I've argued in the past we should pursue these, do you really think everything you read, they're not utopia that once thought they were? They're noisy, they're heavy users of electricity, they're heavy users of water.
The one that we've all read about recently in Sioux Falls, the hyperscale, is not realistic for us. 500 megawatts, whatever it is crazy. However, we have talked with site selectors and developers of these facilities that are on a smaller scale that we think might work for Sioux City. It's a concern. The energy use is obviously a concern, Mayor. I agree with you on that. But on the smaller level ones, can still produce significant tax value that would really help the budget you're looking at right now and in the future. So they do, if we were successful in getting a small campus or something like that, we could really produce a lot of property tax revenue for the city. So that's why we've continued to pursue it. They typically don't have a lot of jobs, although they get high-paying jobs, but you have to have a balance of, an approach to it. And I don't think we're in the market for any of these gigantic AI-driven kinds of places, but they're still continue to grow in the smaller sector too. So I saw this land just kind of generally there has access to some large power lines, which is why we looked at that area.
Project 663382, North Side Commercial and Residential, page 114.
The funds for fiscal year '27 would be used to make some infrastructure improvements that are needed for the development of the southeast corner.
Marty, I want to go back. Sorry, you guys are way ahead of me again. My brain again. On that one right here, the capital, this is for the infrastructure dollars. That would provide what? That's water, sewer, power, unlike this area we're looking at?
Yes.
Water, sewer, storm, and streets.
That's everything east of town.
Team for that one, for like data center you're talking?
No, I'm talking about what are these dedicated funds?
What page?
109, 108, 109.
That's the data center.
That never came.
That's just an area, correct?
It's just we're not
It's a
looking,
placeholder.
we're not talking about a
We don't have a
specific
dedicated-
site.
Right, but I'm saying if anything in that area you're talking about, that's dollars dedicated for that area.
Yes.
And just because you've identified that as an area that would work for a data center, correct?
Right.
Correct, based on power capacity.
But you're not just limiting to looking for anything that to go there, right?
No, it's improving the area.
No, it'd be whatever, but.
Open-minded.
But
Sure.
that was the idea.
Yeah.
Correct.
Example of
It
what
doesn't
could-
have to be underneath that power pole either, that as long as you've got it in the area, Mid-America will move it even closer to town.
That's true.
There's property owners in that area that own large acres of land, like 400 acres, so
Yeah.
that's why we've kind of identified that area along with the power.
So that, these dollars could be dedicated, if someone came in there and purchased a big chunk of ground on that side of town, that's what these dollars are dedicated to extend everything to the east.
Yeah, if council chooses to.
And what would be wrong with, no, we're okay, it's in 2028 is where it's at? Okay, thank you.
Well, you won't, on something like that, you'll have plenty of time. So
That's what I mean, I'm thinking ahead, I
You
think out
would,
loud.
you'd end up tiffing it
Right.
if you got a project. And there might be some RISE money too, depending on what.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Most likely.
Marty, or-
50/50.
project.
Unless it's a certified site, it's 50/50, or if you have job creation, it could be up to 80.
60 or 65% for certified sites, depending on how many acres you have. 50% for just regular project, business park development.
We'll go back to page 114, North Side Commercial.
So these funds will be used to help with infrastructure improvements that are needed for development on the southeast corner of Outer Drive and Business 75. We do have in the work plan showing what those improvements are. I do kind of have a color-coded sheet if it would help to make more sense to what we're doing in each year. But we will have a project coming forward on February 2nd or before, maybe January 26th, but most likely February 2nd, a development agreement for this project.
Project 663384, Gordon Drive, I-29 Development, page 118.
Again, this is an area that we've identified about 15 acres of land that we would like to see assembled and redeveloped, and we do have that can be part of the priority list that I'll provide to you for wrap-up.
Nothing's programmed, yeah.
Project 719201, Southeast Morningside Area Improvement, page 126.
This is for, I'm sorry, this is for a water line that we committed to for small area of development. It's probably one Gordon should maybe give you the more details on it, but I know this is proceeding forward. It was an inadequate water line that we've been looking to replace for many years. You're here.
Yes, I am here. Gordon Fair, city engineer. Yeah, this is a 2-inch water line that goes for approximately half a mile, and it's feeding just a few homes. Well, they've, since, in that vicinity, they've annexed into the city under this old agreement that's, what, 30 years old or something like that?
Is that Dave Davenport's old property?
It's near there, anyway.
It's on 141?
Yeah.
No.
Well, no, not 141. It's, what's that street?
No, it's behind Menards off of, you know, where the East End gas station is. It's down in that hole. Anyway, it's just an old water main that needs to be updated because we promised infrastructure to these people.
Oh, this is the Ewell lawsuit deal, is what this is.
We're just replacing the water main. There's no way.
We're finally getting to it, basically.
Yeah, we're finally getting to it because they're holding us to it because they annexed, they split their property, and they're selling it off. And I had to let somebody get a water meter off that old 2-inch line. It's going to be taxing it because there's already a couple services off it, and it's pretty old. There's no way to get sanitary there without gobs of money. So, but anyway, we've got this, the water line is almost designed. We're hoping to get it out in the next month or so.
Project 719295, Lions Park Investment Area, page 128.
If you recall, many years ago, the city used to have federal urban renewal areas. Some examples were Rose Hill, Jones Street, Greenville. The regulations have since changed, and we basically can designate an area that's predominantly low to mod income and residential as kind of a special investment area. So Lions Park, we've been in for the last 5 years or so. We've made, and this is where we're funneling a lot of our, or focusing, I should say, a lot of our federal grant funds. And so we've done some improvements already that have been completed. We did a huge overview to the park in that area that serves quite a large area of the west side. So that's been done. We've done a lot of design of the street overlay project that will be happening this summer, as well as a lot of sidewalk improvements have already started, inlets and stuff, and prepare for that project later this year. Yeah, this year. So upcoming, we have some things we need to finish in that area. We still have a lot of sidewalk work to complete, so we'll be working on design and then construction of that. And then we'll be looking to see if there's any alley improvements we need to make before we move on from that area as well. We don't get as much funding as we used to in many, many years. If you think about all those other areas I just mentioned, we used to get double the amount of CDBG funds we currently receive from the federal government. So the projects we do now are typically a little bit smaller, or we're partnering with engineering, which is a great partnership, to do those larger projects. For example, the overlay project that will be happening this summer, which is dozens of blocks. We paid for the design of that, and then they'll be paying, the local funds will be used to pay for construction, for example.
I have a question, Gordon. It's more for you. I always like engineers and lawyers. Greg. Carryover balance of sidewalk design is 200, and then we got 100,000, and we only got a $400,000 project.
That's my best estimate. I usually just put a placeholder in there because I don't even know how much we're getting for grant funds yet. So I typically just try to lay out what I think we're going to be doing, but I don't even know really how much money I'm going to have in each fiscal year until they pass the budget.
What does it cost to design a sidewalk?
That was my question, too.
In Sioux City, a lot.
To design a sidewalk?
Yeah.
Sidewalks are not that much, but it's the ramps. When you start
Yeah.
doing the ramps, that's where they get
I'm
expensive.
just asking a percentage of a project. Because what happens is.
for an
when this-
overlay
when we just
project?
say this is for engineering, it just gets eaten up, and I don't want that to happen.
For an overlay, it's typically been, for construction, it's been about 25% of the cost.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
Jump back to those ramps
Yes.
and how expensive those are.
Oh.
Give us an example.
They're in the neighborhood of around 20 grand a ramp.
Right. It's ridiculous.
And what is the design of that again? I mean, we have 1 million ramps in Sioux City.
Not quite a million, but-
Are we recreating each time?
No, depends on the ramp, when they were done. If they were done recently, they were done correctly. But if there's some that were done in the 90s, 2000s, that were not done correctly.
But do we have to keep,
Yes, the design has to be specific to each because of all the ADA, the slope requirements, all those kinds of things. So we end up surveying every single corner. It gets more expensive quickly.
And the feds require, when you do a project that encompasses those ramps, that you have to update them.
And getting back to the budget a little bit, as I'm sure finance can agree with too, it's difficult for us to project forward with CDBG because we have no idea when we're going to get a budget and how much that's going to be. For example, right now, we're under a continuing resolution till the end of this month. So it's really just me kind of programming money in there, but not quite knowing yet. It's kind of my best guess until that comes through.
The last 6 months or so in particular.
So we're spending 20 grand a corner?
Construction, yeah.
Yes.
How much of that was engineering again?
Oh.
Well, to give you some idea, our entire sidewalk project, that part of the construction was done this year, and then 60 blocks that'll be resurfaced?
69.
Yeah, 69 blocks. The total engineering for that was 600,000, somewhere in there.
That's with inspection, though.
That's-
But that's with
not
the
15.
ramps and the overlay. and
About-
some
That's
grading.
not 15% then, because the project came in at
3.7, I think.
3.7, 4 point.
Right.
Your estimate.
Sarah, I think you missed Midtown, Project 314. Missed that one?
Okay.
Okay. It looks like we missed a project in our listing. Project 663314, Midtown Terrace, page 113.
This is new in the book this year. This is a project we received about $3.9 million from the state of Iowa through the National Housing Trust Fund program. And then we're also contributing about $1.1 million in home funds. Those are funds that come directly from the federal government into the city. And we use that for a variety of things, from rental projects to our down payment program, all sorts of things. And so we're utilizing these funds, they're 100% grant funds, no local funds included, to construct a 24-unit affordable housing project at the corner of 13th and Douglas. Right now, it's under design. We're going to bid it out late spring, early summer, and completion is scheduled for the end of '27.
Then are you going to have a property manager run it for you?
Definitely. That's an
You're running
enthusiastic yes.
You're running
Mayor.
this project, though, aren't you?
Yes, yep. Our office is administering it, yep. And then once it gets to the point where it is constructed, then the day-to-day management we'll do an RFQ process for that and, pick a management consultant.
Then on budget.
Agreed.
And that would be someone on site.
Yes, yep.
That would be a requirement of it, right?
Yes. There'll be on-site case management. That will be another party. That will be a sub to the property manager.
Much needed.
Yes.
Especially for that location. Thank you.
Great project.
Okay, we'll move on to water and underground utilities. Project 519103, well replacement program, page 370. Brad Pitts.
Morning, Mayor and Council. 2 wells are budgeted for the next 2 years.
Again, the original wells from the 70s are kind of outliving their life expectancy. Well number 1 had a catastrophic failure. And then we do have another location on the riverfront near where we just built the new well. So the request is to build 2 new wells in the.
Where are you building them at?
Where at?
Yeah, where's it at?
Well number 1 sits kind of just north of the Welcome Center boat on the north side of Larson Park Road.
Okay.
That will be the well that gets replaced with the new well, and then the other well is an offset and redrill of well number 9, which sits just off the west side of the boat, those 2 wells.
Project 519123, unplanned water main replacement, page 372. Project 519127, emergency water main replacement, page 374. Project 519164, annual water system improvements, page 384.
Question on the water line replacement. I'm assuming that's all, what are you upgrading that to, Gordon?
Which one are you, which?
That was back a page, they're talking about the water line replacement.
Page 374, those emergencies, talking about?
Oh, the Seeger one?
I think he's just talking in general.
In general, are you going from what to what?
It's like when that street caved in. Don't know what they're doing until it happens.
Like, and the one on Seeger, we had a water main break this past fall. And we had about $500,000 worth of damage to people's homes because it flooded the basements. So we are replacing Seeger Avenue from South St. Mary's to South St. Aubin.
How big a pipe?
That'd be an 8-inch. It's a 6-inch right now. 8 inches is the minimum required by the state.
Project 519254, annual hydrant rehabilitation, page 393.
We didn't even talk about 84 yet.
Oh, I apologize. Go back to page 384.
Parkview Boulevard, what is that water line now?
That is also, I believe, a 6-inch.
It's bad?
It's extremely rough. I think, if I remember right, I think we've had roughly 25 to 30 breaks on that portion. So it's.
It says go from 8 to 16?
Sorry, say that again?
To a 16-inch?
No.
Because it's currently 6.
Oh, current
6 going
six.
to an 8.
Okay.
519254, annual hydrant rehabilitation, page 393.
Contractor started much earlier this year. They were able to do a total of 595 hydrants, which is great. They'll be, this will actually be coming back to council as it's due for bid here in the next month or so.
So if you see bags.
Yeah.
I had to call about that. Like, I'm going to assume that's what this is. I don't know what's going on. They put the bags over top of them.
Project 519256, water facility chemical improvements, page 394.
So are you building a building or doing improvements?
We're doing improvements. That 93% sulfuric acid, turns out it's extremely corrosive. And it's really taken its toll on that building, and we need to do some improvements to it to make it safe for the employees. This is more of a safety hazard than anything for our guys. So
But what is a building block?
Yeah, yep. The structure is good. Pretty much everything on the inside is corroding pretty badly.
Something that it's lined with?
Yeah,
No, I mean the inside. That's not concrete blocks too?
no, a lot of it's metal, stainless, and it's just not holding up.
Project 519262, water facility SCADA process upgrade.
We'll do a little bit of work on this. I think we found out during peer review that some of these funds are actually coming from a different project. This is to get fiber on the riverfront, mainly for the water plant structures such as the wells and the boosters, or not boosters, just the wells. And I think some of these funds are coming from another project as well, so we'll work with finance and get that straightened out. I don't think it's going to take near this amount of money to get that completed.
Maybe just briefly tell the new council member SCADA what that.
Supervisory control and data acquisition, so it's when our operators sit at the plant, they look at a computer screen and see every facet of the water system right there at their fingertips.
The fiber he's talking about, that's going to be CIP 859043, which will come up under my section.
Thank you.
Project 519263, annual water main replacement, page 398.
Did all of these projects, Chicago, West First Street, Dubuque, all bid?
No, where they're currently under design.
Okay.
We're going to be bidding them out probably the next month.
But you've already got a negative balance?
Well, yes, because it's going, so the Dubuque portion is funded over 26 and 27.
Yeah, okay, but you haven't bid them, so how could we already have a negative balance?
Well, that's just an estimate.
He's got the anticipated up there. So really, that anticipated, it hasn't occurred yet. but
Okay,
that's what they're
I'm going to
anticipating.
always hammer on this too, Gordon, it's nothing new, but why in the world are these projects not being bid in the next month? Just don't know why we'll wait till July to bid them, which we normally do. If we can't keep up on our engineering, then we should not do any we should not allocate any money and take a year off. It doesn't make any sense to bid water projects in July when everybody's loaded.
Hoping to bid it out next month.
No, I don't want to hope. How many projects, 2026, I don't have that sheet, but you got a lot of projects of 2026 projects that have not bid yet.
That's correct, yes.
And you think you're going to get them all out in the next 2 months?
Well, we're hoping to.
Check them off so we can look.
All right.
Because, I mean, if we didn't learn anything last week, bids are coming in good, let's get them out there.
We can bring up status back at wrap-up if you want.
That would be good, because there's all kinds of them in this book between Public Works and utilities.
But do you want that on the 26 projects?
Yeah.
What the statuses are? Okay, I just want to make sure we bring back what you're looking for. Okay.
Project 519264, Corbacks, page 401.
The contractors continue to do a great job for us. They're keeping the numbers low and doing a great job.
Who's the contractor?
It's Ellison and
AG?
A&I?
AG.
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 Who?
AG.
AG is in the book.
Helped you and put it in the book,
Right there.
Brad. We gave it right to you.
Project 519266, water plant high service pump VFD rehab, page 402.
This is for, to install a VFD and install a new pump on high service number 5 at the Zenith water plant. I think these numbers, these estimates came in way higher than this, so there's a chance that we may kind of put this on hold for right now.
Project 519268, Outer Drive Pressure and Storage, page 404.
Again, this is just a placeholder. We can't do anything funding-wise until we get development agreements in place.
Project.
Would that loop then everything from the north side over to Lakeport? I mean, over to Maple?
No, this is going to create its own pressure zone. In the one study that Black and Veatch did, we had them look at looping that all the way over to the Morningside pressure system. And in the end, the water age, if we did it that way, was just astronomical. So the plan that we're choosing to do is just to make it its own pressure zone right there.
Hey Brad, any residential development north of Outer there between 75 and the bypass is going to take a tower?
Well, that's kind of what we're trying to avoid a little bit. I have some concerns about putting a tower up there in that location and not having the amount of use that it's going to take to keep it turned over. So it's going to take a significant project for us to want to spend this kind of money to put a booster station in the water infrastructure and the tower in place up on that property. So
houses are not going to do it.
Yeah.
Where did we talk about that placement if we were talking about a tower?
Yeah, right now
Over
it's
here on the-
south of Outer Drive on the city property. I think
Right.
it was originally,
That would still be the choice?
yes. Yeah,
Hasn't changed in the Black and Veatch study?
no.
Great spot.
Project 519270, Harbor Drive, Highway 75 Water Main Upsize, page 406.
This project is under design. The intended use plan was submitted. I received an email yesterday stating that if they don't have any comments back by February 15th, they will issue the finding of no significant impact on the environmental review. We're on a good pace here.
When's this going to bid?
Do you know how much of the design is complete? 50% maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll most likely be, excuse me, a next year, calendar year.
SRF.
Maybe a little bit this fall if we're lucky.
SRF is really driving this project, so we're just kind of waiting on that time frame.
Project 519273, Lead and Copper Rule Improvements Project, page 408.
Okay, the money in 27 is for a project that we are going to try and complete. It is to replace lead service lines in 100 homes and do some investigation to verify 250 homes to see if they have lead or not. Currently, we have 6,500 homes that are under this list. About 4,000 of them are known lead services and 2,500 are unknowns. So a small project for us to try and get this moving. The rule doesn't actually start until January of 27. And once it starts, we have 10 years to get all of them replaced. So.
Well, again, it's like trees for me.
Right.
You know, how is this my problem that I get to pay for, because I already know I have a copper line, because I replaced it?
We need the background on this, Brad.
Well,
I know.
No, I mean, but council members.
sure, and we've all discussed it.
We've discussed
So,
it, yeah.
Talked about it.
Okay, good.
So I think there's some decisions that need to be made coming up, so that can't be done today or anything, but, you know, really based on that. The SRF loan, the intended use plans are 4951, so they're 49% forgiven. And then 51% is the responsibility of the borrower. So based on that, you know, like I said, there's some decisions that need to be made on how we move forward.
But the first 100 people are going to get it free. How are you going to pick the first 100 people?
This, I would recommend that this does not move forward until those decisions are made.
I mean, it's tough if they got this, but I think it's an overreach on the federal government besides. I mean, if this is such a problem, then they should do what they've done with lead paint.
But I think,
they should have
Bob, too, though, I
federal
don't think
government program.
if they decline it over 3 years, doesn't it like just whatever? It's not like it's
Yes,
septic
they've got
tank.
an opportunity.
It's not like it's a
so-
septic tank thing where they're gonna tie it yet. They're gonna tie it to the sale of the house. So I think it's one of those ones where, you know, I put that in the same category of making the websites ADA accessible. What are you gonna do? If you can't do it, you can't do it. I mean,
There are layers and layers and layers to this rule, and it's difficult to, you know, inform everybody of every little layer, and I'm not even privy to all of them, but it's a learning process, and that's kind of what we're hoping to do with this first.
plus I also think, Bob, when this thing actually goes to, instead of bidding it, I think we put a flat rate out and see who bites. Because you're talking like 8,700 a service or something like that versus actual cost. I mean, if you get, there'll be a lot of people chomping at the bit to get a piece of this. And I think you just throw a
Well, I
number out
get-
there, and then it doesn't cost, because we're gonna be able to fund, what, 50, half of it, so 4 or 5 grand? So at some point, you know, I think you can beat that down to a flat rate, if any, to the consumer,
But are we gonna charge?
or don't do it at all.
Are we gonna put it on the homeowner's water bill, or am I gonna pay for it with water?
Well, the goal, I think, would be is not to have the consumer pay at all if we get the bid where we want it to be. I think you're gonna see there's gonna be guys out there that'll do these for 4,000 or 5,000 a service. I really do.
I do too.
I think
but
that's- yeah.
That's still 2,000 that the ratepayers are gonna.
No, I think we're gonna be able to come up with what, from the grants perspective, how much per service?
Half of it.
49%,
Yeah,
Yeah.
half. So you're talking, you know, they're gonna come up with 4,500 to 5 grand.
right?
Should
So
be able to cover it.
$2,000 a homeowner, or is the homeowner paying the 2,000, or are we paying for it in our rates?
No, I think they're gonna come up with 87 as the number. We're talking the same thing or not? You're saying either way, it's gonna get split, that 4,500?
Yeah.
So the half,
City's gonna be on the hook for,
51%.
for, in your case, 2,500, and the state's gonna give us a $2,500 grant. So how are we paying our 2,500?
Well, no, the state's gonna give us half whatever it's determined, isn't it?
Yeah, so.
Gonna give us half of the
estimate-
8,700.
Estimate right now, based on the plan, which, what we're kind of hearing is that it'll be less, but right now, the plan was 8,700.
Mm-hmm.
So that, just call it 50%. You know, so if you're talking 4,350, you're, you know, that's got to be split in half, is what I think the mayor's saying.
Yeah.
If, you know, depending on what the decision, how that decision is made. So either the city's responsible for that half, or you choose a different direction.
Right, so the question is it the city's going to get stuck with these lines for these homeowners, or are they going to get stuck with the bill? We
Question.
decide, are we sharing it, are we splitting it? It's a tough problem.
I think what Brad's saying is that's the question.
That's the question.
Yeah, I know, so that's what we got to collectively decide.
Problem is, the people that have lead lines, unfortunately, are the people that are gonna have a difficult time paying their 50%. So the federal government's putting a burden on us, and then we get to be the bad guys to that person when they can't afford to hardly stay in their house. I wonder what they can do to us if we don't do a darn thing. What are they gonna do to us?
Well,
Nobody's dying in this town because of lead poisoning.
No, I would agree.
Water line.
I would assume what would happen is if we're not completed by the 10-year deadline, they would either probably fine us and then put us on a consent order to get it done. That's my guess. I don't know that for sure.
Or possibly withhold opportunities for us in the future.
Especially when
Yeah,
it
they
comes to
hold you
SRF
high.
funding.
Right, so.
We'll decide that in 2 years.
you want anything to come back on
Want
that?
to move that
think-
out 2 years?
Bob, I think you just gave Dolly our headline for tomorrow.
I don't care.
Does anybody want this to come back for wrap up for additional? Thank you.
Project 539102, annual sanitary sewer improvements, page 410.
Was any of this part of that project that just bid that came in way cheap?
No, that's, wait a minute. No, I believe that's on the other one. Yes, it is. It's on, coming up.
Okay.
Project 539127, annual sanitary sewer, page 413.
Can I back up just real quick? What is manhole rehabilitation?
Basically, we will take the manholes and we'll reline them, repair them as needed. Depends on which one it is. We have rehab and we also have replace. Some of them we can just rehab by putting in a slip liner, which is much more cost effective. Others, no, they just have to be replaced.
When they had the downtown all messed up, that's what they were doing, was lining all those. Isn't that what that?
Yes.
Going and line them because the brick or whatever's failing on them.
Gotcha.
Hydrogen sulfide really, and some of them eats up the concrete, eat up the brick, you name it. So they have to be relined. We have a project out right now that is going to be replacing and rehabbing, depends on which one it is, for a lot of the manholes that are involved with the Gordon Drive Viaduct. We want to get those manholes rehabbed or replaced in time for that project.
So where was the one you just bid the other day? What page is that?
The relining, let me look. Oh, yeah, there it is. It's 416, page 416. Utility lining improvement.
We'll get it then.
Okay, we'll go back to emergency sanitary sewer, page 413.
And why is this such a negative? You had that many?
Fortunately, yes.
Project 539217, utility lining improvement, page 416.
The one you're referring to, Bob.
So it came in at like 300.
465, 300 under.
Okay, so 465 and you had 800 carry over?
Yep, and I'm going to use, already got a change order ready to add to it. Since we bid this out, we found a couple pipes that are in need of relining, so we're working on costs with that now, with that contractor. And the $177,000 is going to go toward the Floyd River Drainage Project, which we'll get to here in a little bit, for the completion of that design for the ball fields relocation.
How much did you say that was for the ball fields area? Or did you?
No, I haven't got to that yet. The $177,000 is to add to the design because the design has changed and it was almost 10 years old, that contract.
Gordon, can you provide a memo for wrap-up for the additional funding? So between the 800,000 and the 465, I know 177, but the additional funds, what you'll be doing with that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Project 539232, utility underground equipment replacement, page 418.
Like every other year, we buy a jet truck around here.
We're done with the jet.
How many do we have?
We have 2 jet vacs and 2 jet trucks.
Was that a sneeze? Bless you.
Like the fire department.
Per your request last year.
You're almost, you're getting to be just like the damn fire department.
Project 549101, unplanned storm sewer, page 420.
What does critical pipeline repair mean? Just a project you don't have yet, but you might have?
No, that's a contractor.
Oh, what's he fixing?
He does linings.
Oh,
In fact, he's lining that that storm that's underneath Floyd and about 12th Street that goes out behind the food bank. It's a 6-foot pipe and the inverts.
Project 549133, annual storm sewer improvements, page 421.
you got a plan to, you must have a job, you're getting ready to bid for the 577, 237?
Yes, we got, actually not just one, but multiple little ones. Inlets, we do the inlets, we get a line, that Zenith Drive outfall to the river. That's one, and Jill's project she was talking about earlier, that project she's doing for the houses on 13th Street.
Midtown?
Midtown, yes. We're doing we have to do a storm repair there, or install. That's for her project.
Project 549166, emergency storm sewer, page 428.
What are we doing at Floyd Golf Course? I thought we were all done there.
We did, but there was a new one that happened, a new failure, and we just did this back in November. We had
There
to
was a
fix it.
failure on hole 6, maybe, right in the middle of the fairway. So that's for the replacement of that. I could be wrong. Way down in the valley.
Got to be 4 or 5, down there by the pond, the old pond.
Yeah, coming back to the south. The hole that comes back to the south from the tree line on the far north end, yeah.
Storm sewer down there. Oh,
There's a bunch of them. It opened up a big old hole fairway.
It's just a hazard, right?
It's just another hazard.
That was just
I've been telling you.
popping and
It's a
making
natural hazard.
there.
Hey.
2-stroke penalty.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, we'll move on to Public Works. Project 138002, annual streetlight repair and maintenance, page 236, Tom Pingle.
Hi, Tom.
How's it going?
Project 139007, annual intersection traffic signal, page 238.
Why are we replacing Fifth and Cord?
They're too short. When you're coming up the hill, there's a vehicle in front of you you can't see because it's off to the side. They're not up to code at all.
We just had an accident yesterday on that one again.
Take it out, but I was thinking.
Pass.
Project 139019, traffic studies and investigation.
I want to go back. What's the, I thought the Sunnybrook and Highway 75 was in for this year, but it's all the way out in 28. Is that the one where it was a temporary one?
That's where the temporary one is, yes.
It's going to be temporary all the way through 28?
Oh, no, it's taken out already.
It's already
that's what I
gone.
thought.
Yeah.
So you're not going to replace it right away then?
Well, no, and we didn't, we just asked for some funding for this through the SS Safe Streets for All grant, and we did not get it.
It's amazing. They put the temporary in because they needed it, but now.
Now, is that under the same restrictions as any other DOT area signaling? You know how anything by the ramps or the interstate or any of those, DOT is telling us, yes, you can put one there, no, you cannot.
Yeah, this is one we'll have to work with them on that.
So we don't, have we done that yet?
No, because it's a couple of,
I know, but if they're not going to allow us to do it, then we shouldn't spend any time on it. Is just what I'm saying.
yeah, correct.
As you know, the left-hand signal that I want, that's
Yeah.
much needed over on Hamilton, they control every inch of that area down there. So I think we need to determine whether or not they're even going to allow us to put one there.
Oh, no, they will. They've already told us.
Okay, that was just my question.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
but we
though,
just
that
haven't worked with them yet.
When they want one, they put them in, but when.
Right. Perhaps they can assist with that then.
And what's the deal? Did we get the one fixed out there on the off-ramp by Security Bank and Hy-Vee?
No,
No.
it's still flashing, but it's working really well, I have to say.
It's the,
I know somebody must have hit the box.
They
Right.
did, the box
Controller's
all
on
taped
order.
together, yes.
When are you gonna get it fixed?
The four-way stop, or three-way, whatever it is, three, is unbelievable how smooth it's working. I'm out there and I'm not proposing that we keep it that way. I'm just saying, it was the same thing
I went through
on
there last night.
Hamilton.
Good, I'll give you the next people that call me your phone number.
Go ahead, because I believe that they know they have to hurry up, they're next to inch up. And so they're not taking the time waiting the, whatever a signal takes to go through. They're not on their phone messing around or doing whatever they're doing. And I'm out there all the time, and it's, no matter which way, it goes really fast. So it's not too much of a detriment, you know, to people. And I know, Patrick, you're going to get it done as soon as you get the parts in. I understand that. But again, I'm out there all the time, and that traffic is flowing. It's not backed up ever.
Hopefully, as of January 1st, they're not on their phone anymore.
But they are.
Project 139019, Traffic Studies and Investigations, page 242. Project 173011, Flood Risk Reduction Projects, page 248.
Can I ask that we go back? I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but can you go back to page 245 on the Perry Creek flood control? Why are we still struggling to get that project cleared? 20 years ago was when the Perry Creek project was, flood control was being addressed. We haven't been able to work through the certifications. That's still a process?
Yes, I apologize, but this one is started
doing
before
it.
I came here, and I don't, not much.
We're not doing anything.
But
we don't have Senator Harkin anymore to get the damn money for us. But that's why we haven't done anything on it.
Okay.
That's the problem.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't know that there's any money.
What do we have left to do?
Well, you gotta pick up where you left off on Stone Park Boulevard, and you gotta go to the
going.
county line. And that's that,
I'm just wondering.
I mean,
Yeah.
the problem is there's just no federal money anymore
Right.
for that.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we'll go back to page 248.
Is there, Gordon? I don't.
3019, Outer Drive, North Floyd River Drainage, page 250.
Okay, so this is a project that, for everybody, that we were going to put in some drainage improvements, some over by Jolly Time, in their parking lot out front next to Floyd, and then on the same property that we just purchased, Paul Fivner, for the ball fields relocations. And what that would do is take about 133 homes out of the flood zone, flood lining project, to complete it. I do have a graphic, if I could show it online. Sarah, is that possible?
Sure.
So I do believe I have another one too. Nope.
Again, this is such a waste of money because it's never going to flood, but.
So the ball fields are projected to look like this. And we need this basin over here and remove this purple line here underneath the ball fields because it's a 6-foot pipe and it's rotten. And install a box culvert along here and cross the railroad at this point. There's also some improvements in this vicinity and here.
You're going to run a box in that red too? Is that a box?
On this portion, yes, and this will probably be a pipe of some sort or maybe a box board. Up here, we haven't got to that point yet. It's not designed.
Problem with running a box culvert under the railroad?
It can be done, yes.
They do it all the time on Highway 75. You look, at boxed all those when they did all.
Yep.
I just want to double check. Fussy.
So,
not easy to work with. But.
In order to get these ball fields built in time for, I think, the 27 season, I've got to get this project designed now and start bidding it. For one, just either at a very minimum to rehab this pipe, or but preferably remove it, put this basin in this box culvert and cross the railroad.
Bert, is there a reason why that basin is where it's at? I'm sure there is, but can you tell me why?
Yeah, it's an addition to this property right here, this basin here. It's to alleviate the flooding.
Required right there.
What's that?
It's required right there.
Yes, because we can't, it's to be additive to this property here, this one, this basin.
Who owns that?
Us.
It's ours.
So.
It doesn't mean we just can't put a basin anywhere on city property and just, then it counts.
No, because it's got to be down at this point in the low end before the roof, yeah. This will help, putting this basin in, and this will help prevent flooding of this area too, of the ball fields.
How big is that box?
That's still to be determined, but I believe it's going to be about probably a 12 by 6, 12 by 8. It's going to be decent size. That's why it's imperative we get it done now before the ball fields go in, because if we have to build this during baseball season or whatever, it's.
Yeah, the fields need to be ready for the 28 season.
28 season.
They're going to play through 27 at the current location, so.
We'll be doing the design for this. Now, I've broken this out into phases, and bear with me because we just did it yesterday afternoon. So do the basin here, and this box culvert is one. We can connect to the old pipe for now and then bore under there right after, and that won't be so disruptive to the ball fields because it's going to be, if you look, it's on this one here, it's out of the way. It'll just be crossing that driveway, so to speak. Now, keep in mind, the baseball fields and the pipe flooding stuff are not designed yet. So these are all preliminary.
But you said that purple one is already there though, right?
That purple one is already there, and it's in bad shape. So the good news is any of the dirt we take out for this basin and this box culvert will fill that hole where that pipe is, and it'll add to the grading for the ball fields.
You'll still need to bring in more dirt to.
What's that?
Will you need to bring in more dirt, or will filling?
It's not designed yet at this point, so I couldn't tell you. So, what I'm looking for is, how come I don't have that listed?
How wide a driveway are you designing for?
It's not designed yet, so I couldn't tell you.
Are you planning to do this at the same time that the fields will be put in, or?
Say that again?
Or, because you said it would be disruptive to the fields.
Yeah, we want to do it just before the ball fields are being built, or even during it type.
In conjunction with, right?
Yes, in conjunction, yes. So I have, what I'm in need of, how come I don't? There it is. In '28, I need about 4 million ball field, to do, not the ball field, sorry, not the ball field, to do the flood control, that, those two segments that I told you, the basin, the box culvert.
We knew that before the ballparks. We got to do this anyway someday because those people, 133 of them are paying for flood insurance.
Right.
Should have never, and they put them back on because of that new map, which is stupid.
That's correct. Once these are all, these three phases, or I've got them down as three phases, the consultant has listed as 4. But after about 3 years of construction, if we can get the funding for it, then we'll file for a new map, and then we'll be able to take them off.
Take them about 10 years, but what the heck.
It will take them a time, yes.
I just want to clarify, the only change you need is to move the 4 million to the 28 year, or do you need to move funds to the 27 year?
Yes, I would have to move that to the 28.
Okay, so what's currently in the 28, we leave there, or does that mean to move to 27?
The 540, actually, that was for buying the property. It was mostly for buying the property and finishing the design, but if I'm taking the design from the other CIP I mentioned earlier, I should be good for the design, so I won't need that 540 is what I'm saying.
Okay, so you just need 4 million, not on top of the 540?
Right.
Correct, okay, thank you.
Yeah, my only question on this project was whether you needed it sooner, but it sounds like you don't. My only question on this project was whether you needed the 540 sooner, but it doesn't sound like you do.
Good with that.
Okay, lunch is here, so let's take a little break and come back. How's that sound?
We'll dismiss for lunch for 30 minutes.
Gordon's microphone. They said it was. I don't know.
Hello?
It's working.
Okay.
Is this a dirt wall or is it a concrete?
Dirt. Earthen.
Firm?
Firm. Yes.
Do we
There
have-
may be a little bit of work on the last homeowner's property, and that one, well, it may be concrete, but I don't know. I'd hope not.
Where are you at on design?
Very early in the stages right now. I'm actually working and reviewing North Sioux's project, and it may take longer than we had hoped.
Ours will or theirs will?
Well, theirs is taking longer than they hoped, and so ours will probably follow along the same, take longer.
And do we have Homeland Security money for that?
Yes, what was it, 865,000?
We do have that?
Yes.
Yes. We're not charging.
Yeah, I
big
know,
sti-
but I want to make sure that just because they list that as a funding source doesn't mean we actually have the,
That's we won that grant
okay?
4 months ago, I want to say, something like that.
How long do you have to spend it?
Don't know that off the top of my head.
I don't want another flood out there, so
We are working on it.
keeping the pumps out there checked.
Brad Pitt's group is taking care of that, yes. And he's ordering another one.
Project 529009, Convenience Center Maintenance Improvements, page 254. Project 529011, Landfill Groundwater Corrective Action, page 256.
How many more years?
So we have been working with the DNR. This is required to get off the schedule. So we have to put these wells, put pumps in the wells. They're small wells. And once we can prove that the contaminants from the wastewater, or from the landfill aren't flowing down into the Iowa's water, which there's a creek down there, then we can get off this.
Forever?
Yep.
And is it just one testing period, or is it over a course of years to prove that?
Years, it could be years, it could be a couple of years, decades, depending on how those levels of contaminants lower.
Project
Long time coming.
Project 539003, Reconstruction of Bacon Creek Channel, page 258. Project 5391.
Just one second. We didn't bid 9.6 million on that last year, did we? We did some street improvements, but not 9 million, did we?
No. No, that's part of the 9.8 million. That is part of the 13 million we just awarded last month.
So we got the same, was that Homeland Security grant that we got for the Big Sioux River thing?
Yes.
Just kind of, I mean, going back to that Big Sioux, what prevents us from doing it sooner rather than later?
For the Big Sioux?
Yeah.
We have to get permitting. First we have to do the design, which is really nothing. It's not that big of a design. But then the permitting is what takes so long, and I'm talking a year, maybe two. I'm hoping only a year or two.
Ah, okay.
And they move at their own pace.
Yes, we have to go to the Corps, we have to go to, North Sioux has to get approvals, South Dakota does, so there's a lot to it. And then after it's built, we have to file maps, flood maps.
That's not gonna change the flood zone out there anyway.
It shouldn't.
There aren't that,
No.
there aren't that many in the flood, so.
Project 539117, wastewater treatment plant resilience initiative, page 264.
Bartlett West, we still owe them money?
No. They haven't asked for it.
Okay.
Project 539143, annual wastewater treatment plant building maintenance, page 266.
You guys still using that old barn and old house down there?
The barn we do, the house is getting demoed.
It is being demoed?
Yep.
When?
When the project starts, or we might do it this summer using our city staff.
What do you use the barn for?
Equipment storage, it's full to the top.
Is that going to stay there?
It is for now, yeah.
Projects?
We're never building that storage shed for sludge anymore then?
Nope, nope.
This may be a question for Teresa, but, you know, as I continue to see some of these go through, there's transfer ins from sewer funds. You know, as far as like how big the sewer fund is, and we continuously see things.
Earlier, when I mentioned the water and the sewer fund, we work with Tom and Brad to come to a comfortable level with the transfer ins and based on what we know the fund can handle. So when you, at the beginning of the book in the financial portions, it talks about the water in each fund, and we identify what we're comfortable with. So earlier, when they wanted to add, I said that, just know that'll tax the fund more than we're comfortable with.
Well,
So
right.
you know, then that has an impact on the rates.
And will you tell us how that impact will at some point, or?
Yep, we can talk about that. I just know right now, anything that's outside of
fine.
this plan right now, and outside of the amount that we've discussed being comfortable with at the time that we set the rates, will have implications on future rates, because we didn't plan for additional.
Those transfer ins are generally based upon the enterprise fund and the
Yep.
of those funds.
When we went and looked at the rates, it was important that we had kind of a set amount each year so that it wasn't fluctuating, so we knew what the rates we needed to be for future years. So that's why we stay at that dollar amount. Anything beyond that, we need either bond for or, you know, talk about additional rate increases.
Right.
Yep,
Well, I was going to say, and that's what my concern would be, obviously, is.
right. Yep, we'll try to come up with some, where you guys will know your options for funding options to determine, you know, this will impact rates, this will be bond impacts, these are other options, so we can do that.
Thank you.
Project 539207, lift station improvements, page 268.
You gotta look at that, or you can't do some of these storm sewer projects, I'm sorry.
Project 539222, renewable fuels, page 270. Project 549002, Southbridge Drainage Ditch, page 272.
I'm sorry, go back. What are you getting money for the renewable fuels? What do you need that for?
That'll probably keep getting pushed into the future years, but that is money set aside or allocated for replacing the membranes at the renewable fuels plant, which is the final step.
Revenue going up on that at all?
It's about the same. After we complete the high-strength waste project that has been initiated, we hope to see revenues go up.
I was going to ask, can we see a report on where you see revenues and where you see anticipated revenues?
Yep.
Through the years?
Most definitely.
Thank you.
Be half what it was when you started the project, when you were on the council, if you're lucky.
Boom.
That was, I got land in Florida for sale deal by those engineers.
Project 549002, Southbridge Drainage Ditch, page 272.
We don't need this unless we get some land sold down there.
Agree. We are working on the plans for that, though, which should be done soon. They're virtually done. We just not, we got to final them. Excuse me. We're hoping that if someone comes in for the interchange, the 235 interchange, and they need dirt, we're hoping to make a deal with them on that.
Project 549156, Bacon Creek Culvert Improvements, page 276.
I want to point out, this is one of the large projects that I've talked about, why we've been really conscious of our debt limit. Right now, our stormwater fund is not a enterprise fund, so this will be a portion of the debt that will have to be funded by property taxes unless we look at updating or changing the stormwater fund rates.
And how do we have to do that? Pass a resolution?
Yep. And we have been reviewing it, Sarah, Tom, and I. We can bring a memo to council. We've looked at several different options for council to look at and determine if that, what way they want to go.
If it's even possible to make it an enterprise?
Well, I'm not confident that it can, well, we can make it an enterprise fund. The rates will be significantly high.
It's just funding it.
Right.
But we can do a portion, potentially, you know, maybe we do a 20% of this or 30% so that it alleviates some of the tax. But that, we can give you options on what that looks like.
I mean, I'm not following you. Can we double the, can we double the
Yep.
fee?
You can, absolutely.
What is an average house, like 30 cents or some crazy number? Not very much.
It's not, it's like, I thought it was $3.
$5 or something.
Yeah,
$3.
$3.84 or something like that.
A month. Well, I know that this is not very popular in some quarters, but the good news about a stormwater tax is schools and churches and hospitals get to pay it. And they don't pay any taxes, but they demand a lot of services.
Right.
So
If you remember, the Effective Fiscal and Public Policy looked at this. We looked at it, gave a recommendation, and then determined that this project was in the wings, and then determined that we didn't feel we should make it an enterprise fund. So we tabled that. I can pull those back out, and with the information that Sarah's just went through with Tom and I, we can put together another memo to give you some options, and then you can decide. It may not be a full enterprise fund initially,
I'm not
but
proposing that it be an enterprise fund, but I'm proposing that that is the same fee today as it was when we passed it back when I was on the council in the 90s. And you're either going to pay this stuff in property taxes or you're going to pay it in a stormwater tax. The advantage of a stormwater tax is churches,
Everybody pays.
schools, nonprofits, they'll all be here telling you
They can't afford it.
how bad it is, but the reality is it's very cheap. And we're never gonna do that Bacon Creek and that without hammering taxes down. You're gonna pay it either way, but at least you spread it out how many people pay it, because everybody's gonna benefit from that.
so the largest impacted are like the commercial with large parking lots. The
get that.
residents don't have as much of an impact, and just for the knowledge of how the calculation is.
It's calculated on the
Gordon, is there, based on the SDPG application that's going to come to council here in the next couple of weeks, is there another 4 million to add out in 2030?
We're asking for 4.
Yeah.
It'll probably be closer to 3.5.
Okay. But potentially, there's another $3 to $4 million.
Yes, that is correct.
Costs,
Income,
income?
SDBG money.
And we are applying for another grant. I think it's due February 9th or something like that. You just approved the contract there on the first council meeting this year.
For that HDR.
Yes.
It will come to council the first week of February for the application.
Yep. That's a build grant.
Project 549165, Ravine Park Oak Savannah Maintenance, page 278.
I think it's indefinitely.
For a little bitty grant we got. And she got the job. Unbelievable.
Project 719001, Annual CBD Infrastructure Improvements, page 284. Project 719015, Reconstruction of Undermined Pavement and Drainage, page 286. Project 719017, Reconstructing Asphalt Streets, page 288.
Walk me through this. What's this?
This is a program that was started years ago for substandard streets that were, some developers would build where they would have put 1 to 3 inches of asphalt over some fly ash or a small gravel subbase, not wanting to do city standards for that, and they subsequently have failed. The city wouldn't accept them into maintenance. So the property owners, until the property owners brought it up to standards.
So this is a cost-sharing program or cost assessed against the landowner?
Yes. Thing is, the homeowners, of course, don't want to undertake that bill.
That's why we push it out each year until we have a viable project.
Right, the project identified.
Yeah. Commitment.
So how are the roads maintained right now?
They're not.
Privately?
Private. Including snow removal, right?
Snow removal, we do.
Oh, we do.
Give me an example.
West Kings Highway. West Kings Highway, yeah.
Yep. There's a list of them on the second page.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, right there.
How many more rail crossings and leads before we get a quiet zone? I really like that.
Project 719026, Rail Crossing Leeds in Riverside, page 291.
Soon.
How soon? I think we just had a memo on that. It's going to be a couple years. This last one took close to 10. Downtown.
Downtown? Yeah.
The next one that will be done will probably be Riverside. That one, we're real close to getting that started. The wait period started.
Project 719071, 18th Street Viaduct, page 296.
And they won't make that a quiet zone until 46th Street's done.
Correct. 46th Street, the one at Jolly Time.
Yeah, but you've got money for that.
Yep.
In that this year, aren't you?
Well, that's, no, because, I don't know about that.
46, you got double track. So they.
And there was an accident, so we had, and because there was an accident there, we had to.
Right, but I'm
that.
saying that they won't make a quiet zone in Leeds until 46th Street. It's got to be the whole corridor.
Correct.
It is not going to be 2 years in Leeds.
Trying to be optimistic.
Yeah.
Optimism at
I'd
its
call it
finest.
something else, but go ahead with your story.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go back to page 296. Project 719121, annual resurfacing, panel patch, curb and gutter, page 306.
So this is the one we do in the Lions Park. That project with Isabella Square. That one came in under approximately 800,000 under, and Mayor had brought up, why don't we take that extra money and do either Floyd Boulevard or 41st Street, which are on the list.
No, I don't care what, I said, just make sure we use it and it doesn't go away. I suggested Floyd Boulevard, or 41st Street, because it's terrible, but that's beside the point. I don't.
And I noted Floyd Boulevard.
Yeah,
And-
Floyd
That's
Boulevard.
horrible.
Floyd Boulevard is horrible. It is on the list, but it is down a little ways because we have other priorities
I
that are
don't have
done.
your scoring. I understand that, totally.
So the prioritization is done by our street maintenance group. They determine which ones are the most costly and need to be done the soonest. So we prioritize this every year, and, well, up to a point, because I have to design things like 2 years out. So,
So you're going to proceed with Lorraine as council directs otherwise?
yes, Lorraine is 90% done for that, and so we want to get that going real soon.
Well, now let you borrow my Vespa and you'll find a whole lot of strings.
Right. Which is why we have this new resurfacing program, which brings me to my question. We approved $6 million every year last year, and we haven't even completed the first year of the program, where we're going to do a minimum of 40 square blocks. We're going to mill and overlay. We're going to go through as many neighborhoods as we can. And we haven't even completed the first year, and it's not directed at anybody specific. We are already trimming it. We don't even know if the pilot year, how effective it's going to be. I mean, we've already seen the bids, so that's great. We're doing 69 blocks, not 40. 40 is our minimum. Why are we taking away money already when this is what our citizens want? Every single time the taxes come around, they say, what are they doing with them? Fill the potholes, fix our streets. So we have 1 year of the new program, and we already get $1.3 million shaved off of it. So
Peer review, it was a discussion, a peer review, and it's.
I'd only say this just, and I'm saying it not because I live in any area of town, but I'm telling you, the impact you have when you do these projects is you better spread them around.
Oh, absolutely.
Because when you concentrate, I mean, you're doing a lot of